and Mildred Lampier are suing Mildred's ex-boyfriend, car repossessor Terry Chance, and his wife Irene for an unpaid loan. The Chances are countersuing for slander and defamation of character.
Quiet in the courtroom, all rise. Yes, case number 28 on the calendar in the matter of Lampier versus Chance. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Oh, I need a scorecard to go over this case, at least to try to explain it to Bird, who I know is going to pay very, very careful attention to the players. Mr. Lampier, it is your claim, along with your wife, this is your wife, that you made a loan to Mr. Chance. I don't know about his wife, but certainly to Mr. Chance in the amount of $2,000. Mr. Chance says that this was not a loan, but a gift. And he is counterclaiming because he says that because he had a relationship with your wife, she decided to be vindictive and call his wife and his children and saying all kinds of nasty things about him. So he's counterclaiming for defamation of his otherwise pure character and slander. Right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So what I gather is the two of you were not married.
Right.
Mr. Chance was separated from his wife.
That is correct, Your Honor.
What's your first name?
Mildred.
Mildred and
Terry.
Terry sort of got together.
Yes.
For a brief period of time.
Yes.
Before you and
George
got married. At some point, you needed money for a car.
Basically, yes.
And George gave you the money for the car.
No. The money did come from George. Millie is the one that got the money from George.
You had no contact with George.
Yes, at the time when when I received the money, it did come from George, yes. Millie had set it up.
I don't care who set it up.
That's what I'm trying to explain.
You got the $2,000 from George.
Yes.
And you say George gave you that money as a gift.
Yes.
Okay, George. Tell me how that money came about.
Okay. Mildred and Terry come out the house. Mentioned that he needed some money to buy a car because their car was broke down. And she backed out of the whole picture.
Who backed out?
Mildred.
What do you mean she backed out?
She said it's up to you if you want to loan him the money.
Okay. How did you know, Terry?
That's not true.
Terry.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll have a chance.
Okay.
He was a co-worker with my wife now.
When were you married, by the way?
February 28th.
Now, what discussion, Mr. Lampier, did you have with Terry regarding this $2,000?
He was cashing in his 401k, plus his income tax return was coming back, and he wanted to borrow it for 2 weeks, 3 at the most.
And that's what he told you?
Right.
He told you that, not Mildred. He told you that. And where did you get the money from?
Out of my checking account.
And you remember the date when you gave it to him?
Yeah, March 1st.
When did you first ask him for the money back?
Oh, it was probably 4 weeks into it. 3 weeks.
Did you ask him or did Mildred?
Neither one of us really asked him.
Well, what happened?
He had informed Dee up at the bar one night.
This lady in the green?
Ladies.
Step up. Just a second. Tell me your name.
Doreen Degg.
Miss Degg, you work together with these people?
No, I frequent the bar where they were employees.
And did there come a time when you had a conversation about this $2,000?
Yes, he came up to the table I was sitting at on a Friday night and asked me if George and Millie were coming into the bar that night. And he told me that if I should see them or talk to him, to tell George he had something for him.
Did you see them that day?
No, I did not. I called her the next morning and informed her what he had told me the night before.
Okay. Do you remember that conversation?
I remember speaking to her. It was about getting the message to George that I wanted to talk to him.
That you wanted to talk to him,
yes.
Not that she says you said you had something for him.
I didn't say I had anything for him.
Okay, but that you wanted to speak to George.
Yes.
Well, what did you want to speak to George about?
I wanted to speak to George.
Look at me. Don't look over there.
I wanted to speak to George about the lawsuit papers that my wife had received.
The lawsuit papers?
The small claims papers.
Oh, so they had already sued you for this $2,000.
Right, and what my main question was is why they were going after my wife.
Okay. So you hadn't had any prior discussion prior to being served with the papers with George about anything?
None whatsoever.
Okay, so you were surprised.
Very.
Why were you surprised, sir?
Because we had, I was seeing Millie,
Look
and
over
I was
here.
seeing Millie in a relationship.
No, you're looking up at the ceiling.
I
want you to take your eyes and fix them on mine.
Stress. Sorry, Your Honor.
No, that's not.
I had eye contact.
That's
all righty. I had a relationship with Millie prior to her marriage. She was engaged, supposed to be breaking off the engagement. Things started to get a little out of hand.
Why did you want to talk to George, sir? Why did you tell Miss Daig that you wanted to speak to George?
Because I wanted to know why they were suing me and my wife when nothing was said about that money, about repaying it, about owing it, nothing.
Why would George give you $2,000?
Because Millie's the one that got it out of him.
Well, sir, is that what you wanted to tell George?
I eventually did tell George that.
When did you tell George that, sir?
My main reason for wanting to talk to George was why they were suing my wife. Because my wife had nothing to do with it whatsoever. My wife don't even know these people. Mm-hmm. And she has been put through hell and high water and back because of all this.
So you mean they should have sued you?
Yeah, I was the party involved.
Well, that might be a legitimate question.
And I had said to George when I did see him the next day, I said to him,
So the next day you saw George?
I believe it was.
Good. Tell me about the conversation that you had with him the next day. Tell me what he said to you and what you said to him.
I'll tell you exactly what was said. I said, why are you trying to sue my wife and sue me? He goes, I have nothing to do with it. That's on Millie. Is his exact words.
And you said?
I left.
Didn't say anything else, did you?
I said I left. I went to my attorney.
When did you have the next conversation with him?
I don't believe there was any after that.
Well, according to you, that's a lie, sir. According to your answer, that's not true.
According
to your answer, you had another conversation with him that you haven't told me about.
Okay. Can you refresh my memory?
Shouldn't have to, but I will. I decided that George should know who the woman he married really was. I went to their house and told them about the affair, which he said he had an idea something was going on with us. I also told him about Millie's plan to divorce him. When I did that, Millie started yelling and punching me. Mm-hmm. That was something I would remember.
That was prior, Your Honor. That was prior to that conversation about the lawsuit.
Just a second. What I said to you before was, when was the first time there was any discussion about the repayment of this money? And you said there wasn't. Clearly, that's not true. Clearly, before you got served with a summons, there was a discussion about repaying the money. Because that's when you supposedly, according to you, went to their house. What are you looking at me? Am I speaking a foreign language? Do you speak English?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. George and Mildred Lampier claim Mildred's ex-boyfriend, Terry Chance, and his wife, Irene, owe for an unpaid loan. Terry says his wife has nothing to do with the money.
By the way, I don't really believe you're involved as a defendant in this case, because whatever arrangement was made with your husband.
Yes.
It was a loan! There is absolutely no reason for these people to have given you $2,000. You don't look as if you're that good, sir. Trust me.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
No, listen to me. I listened to you, and you have been unpersuasive in convincing me that these two people made you and the wife that they never met a loan for $2,000 to buy a car. You have been unpersuasive to me. You give your children, maybe, but a stranger, somebody that he knows because his wife-to-be knows you from work, even if she's having a fling with you, it's not a reason to give you $2,000. As I said, you don't look like you're that good. So you owe him $2,000. Now you've got a $4,000 counterclaim. And the $4,000 counterclaim is punitive damages due to slander and defamation. I'm prepared to hear your counterclaim.
Okay. First one being harassment.
No, listen to me. You're supposed to be able to remember what you're suing him for $4,000.
Okay, first one was for harassment, harassing my wife at work, continuous phone calls to my wife at work.
Just a minute. Just a second. Who called you at work?
Mildred.
Mildred. And what did she call to say to you?
She kept repeatedly telling me that she was having an affair with my husband, which we were separated.
And was that very distressing to you?
Yes.
Do you think that was as distressing to you as your husband telling her fiancé and her husband that she was no good and she was having an affair with him?
I'm sure it was.
Right. It's the way it goes.
But
When
this
you
had
fool
nothing to do
around,
with me.
when you fool around, you have to accept the consequences. Put your hand down. What's next?
Second thing is when she said to my 12-year-old son when we had stopped at the house when I had the money in my pocket.
What money?
The money, the $2,000.
What do you mean you had it in your pocket?
No.
Shh, I don't.
I'm sorry.
What do you mean you had it in your pocket?
Millie was with me. We had stopped by because the money was in the form of a check, and I had pulled it out of my pocket because I gave my son some money. Okay, my son had asked me where I had gotten the money, and Millie spoke up, oh, it's your dad's early birthday present, and had made comments that your mom's a worthless and don't know how to take care of you. That's when we were out the door.
Just 1 second. Who was out the door?
Me, Millie, and me. I took her out of the house.
So the two of you left together?
Yes.
Did you give her back the money?
What's that?
What word didn't you understand?
I didn't
She
hear-
had just insulted you and your wife because you were dumb enough to bring her to your home or where your son was in order to give him money that you had just gotten from them. Did you give the money back?
No. If somebody handed you $2,000 said happy birthday, would you give it back?
Your counterclaim is dismissed, Mr. Chance. I would suggest you grow up. How long have you been married?
4 years. We've
4
been
years.
together for 12.
He hasn't gotten any better.
Some of it.
Some of it. Not enough. Not enough. If you hitch your wagon to a falling star, eventually you're going to get caught in the mud. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Get him out of here. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Revenge has just begun. Revenge has just begun.
Stayed in the hotel a couple of nights. The night before I got married.
Oh, yeah. Before, during, even on our wedding night.
We didn't sleep together because he couldn't perform.
It's far from done and over with.
He told me paybacks are hell.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kangas versus Kangas, step forward, please.
Licensed investigator Paul Kangas is suing his son, 21-year-old movie theater clerk Shane Kangas, for unauthorized credit card charges and for money owed on a computer. Shane says he worked off the debt by working in the family business.
Mr. Kangas, this young man is your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old is he?
21.
What do you do?
I work at a movie theater.
What do you do there?
I serve people popcorn, clean up at the night.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Computer technician.
Okay. Mr. Kangas, you say that your son came to live with you, and you also purchased a computer for him, and I understand that the agreement was it was going to be paid for in sort of barter. He was going to put in a certain number of hours working for your business, which is private investigating business.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that would pay off the computer.
Yes,
And you also gave him a credit card
I did.
and told him to use it, but use it wisely.
It's to help him in the business, so when I send him out to do something, like go to the lab to develop film, that he'd have a way of paying for the film, picking up the film.
And what about personal stuff if he needed something?
Personal stuff, he had to check with me before he spent beyond $20. I have the same arrangement with my daughter, and she honors it strictly with her credit card.
That's what makes horse racing, sir. Children
Yes.
are different.
That's for sure.
Okay. After several months, he decided he didn't like it anymore, so he decided to sit in his room, play his guitar, whatever. You got annoyed. He left. You wanted to pay for the computer and for the credit card bills that he racked up while he was still using the credit card. That's what your lawsuit's about.
Somewhat. It's the reason for buying the computer for him was to motivate him. So I made this deal with him. Look, you pick out any computer you want, and the deal is you'll pay for it out of the amount of time you put in. I'm only asking you to work 4 hours a day. We lived across the street from the courts, so it was easy for
Well,
him.
how long did he work for you after you bought him the computer?
Several months. He was doing quite well. He was really motivated.
Well,
but
how
then
much did he work off of the computer?
About $1,000 of it.
That's a pretty nebulous contract that you have with him, Mr. Kangas.
Well, he didn't last that long because he got so into the computer. I mean, he'd be up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning on the computer, and I'm trying to sleep. I was trying to motivate him. I was trying to control him.
I was trying to exert some parental influence on him.
All sounds terrific. Remember the father knows best?
Yes, I do.
It's not like that anymore.
Well, it's...
You know, families don't sit around in shirts and ties having dinner together anymore. Everything that you did with your son sounds as if you had the right motivation. He was going to work, and he was going to pay off this computer, and he was going to be responsible with the credit card.
That's right.
Right.
But then we got into a dispute over the computer, and then he moved out and started spending the credit card like it was his credit card, and it was free money, and he just started sending me these bills for huge amounts of money.
Well, what I would like to see is the bills after he moved out. And then, Bert, you know what we're going to do? We need one of those great fly swatters that we used to have, because there's a sucker here that's looking to meet its ancient relatives.
I think I got just what you need.
You or me?
Oh! Took a nice little nosedive right into your cup. No, no.
See what happens when I get annoyed?
Yes,
Okay. What date did you move out, young man?
It was 14 months ago.
Well, give me a month.
June or July.
June or July. So let me see the bills after June or July. Let's do July.
Well, the deal was no crazy expenses. And
Mr. Kangas, listen to me very carefully, sir. I raised a lot of teenagers, and they are so creative with a credit card.
Yeah.
I didn't know for a very long time that when I gave a kid a gas credit card, that they could go in and get enough food for their entire dormitory in one of those gas places. I didn't know that. And I said, how could they use so much gas? The campus isn't that big. Where are you using all that gas? And then I realized that you can buy milk and juice and newspapers and cookies and snacks and eggs. And you can not only buy, listen, and you can not only buy it for yourself, but you can buy it for all your friends, because if you buy it for all your friends, they give you the cash.
Right.
Do you understand? Listen, Mr. Kangas, I know that happens. I didn't sue my children. So what I want to see is, after he left, because it was clear to me that when you left, you should have left the credit card.
He did. I took it away from him.
And how did he use it?
I don't know how he got another one.
How did you use it, sir?
Shh.
Is not an answer.
I had the number on my computer still, so I could still make online purchases.
Okay. Now, Mr. Kangas, what's your first name?
Shane.
Shane. So let me explain this to you. The computer, sir, is yours because your father made a too soft a deal for me to have to figure out how many hours you worked and whether or not you paid for the computer with the work that you did for it. That's his problem. But you're a big boy, so you knew that when you moved out of the house and your father took the credit card from you, you were not supposed to use it, right? Is not an answer.
Sorry.
If he took the credit card from you, he said to you, what did he say? Give me the credit card, and if you need it, go look on your computer and get the number? Give me the fly swatter. Let me explain something to you. He's a computer hacker.
That's right.
And he's going to go into your bills, and if he has your social security number, he'll steal your identity, and all of a sudden you'll find that you bought 9 surfboards.
Then he took the credit card out of my ex-wife's purse and went back to spending it again.
Well, it doesn't say much for you, sir, that you raised a thief.
No, I feel it's the unexpected legacy of divorce.
That is a crock. That's not the legacy of divorce. I've been divorced, and I had children, and none of them are thieves. 5 of them. Nobody would go into my pocketbook and steal my credit card. So that's ridiculous.
Well, he's depressed, and I feel that...
He's depressed?
Yeah, he's got a
He's depressed. He's a thief. That's not being depressed. Look at him. Does he look depressed to you? He doesn't look depressed to me.
He's got a lack of...
A little high, maybe, but not depressed. Right, Shane?
No.
Really?
Really?
Really? I see $849 on the credit card after July.
Unfortunately, I put all of the receipts in a special envelope, put it in a special place, and then I couldn't find it, so that by the time I got here, that's what I had. I understand. I should have had better control of my file.
No, you should have better control of your son.
That
judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $849. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I can understand where he's coming from because a similar thing happened to me and my father at this age.
We had a fight towards the end of me living there.
And eventually we got back together.
I'm going to go off and do my own thing.
I hope that Shane will sometime recognize me as a friend again because we had a great relationship.
Registered nurse Kim Gransbury Conte is suing the mother of her son's girlfriend, homemaker Melody Marine, for the return of a pit bull named Samson. Melody is countersuing for the dog's expenses.
Yeah, this is case number 234 on the calendar in the matter of Gransbury Conte versus Marine. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Gransbury Conte.
Miss Conte, you have a son.
That is correct.
Whose name is Zane. He is currently incarcerated.
He's in a rehab.
Did he go into rehab after his term in prison?
Yes.
This lady has a daughter. Her daughter has a child with your son.
Yes.
Her daughter is currently in rehab.
No, she's home, ma'am.
How long was she in rehab?
35 days.
Probably not enough.
Probably not.
But this is not about the child. This is not about anything. This is about a dog. Because it is your claim that Miss Marine
Yes.
had your son's dog, a year-old pit bull, and she took possession of the dog when your son went to prison. There was an agreement that she would do that, but after 9 or 10 months, she gave the dog away. Miss Marine says nobody wanted this dog. The dog was an untrained animal when she got him. And she's counterclaiming because she said if you've got your son's power of attorney, you ought to pay her for the year's worth of food and vet bills. And in addition to the fact that she fed this dog and took care of him for a year, he also was dangerous and caused injury to her pet duck. And there was substantial vet bills. So that's what the case is about. Don't you have better things to think about than this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You've got a son who's got a drug problem. You've got a daughter who's got a drug problem. You share a grandchild.
Yes.
And how old is this grandchild?
She's 22 months, ma'am.
Yeah. I'm going to get to your case in a second, but it would seem to me that you two ladies, if you were intelligent young ladies, would concentrate on this 22-month-old child who had the misfortune of having 2 drug addicts as parents.
Absolutely.
Ah! We reach an accord. Perfect. All right, so let's take care of the dog first, and then we're going to talk about the baby.
Okay.
When your son went to jail, why didn't you take the dog?
I went to Spokane to pick the dog up. At that time, I was with Carrie. I stayed at Carrie's house, and we had an agreement because I was going to take the dog to take it back, and she had asked me if I would leave the dog with her because she felt that it made it like my son was still there.
You mean her daughter?
Yeah, her daughter.
Go ahead. So
And
her daughter
I had-
said, leave me the dog because I will feel close to my man.
Yeah, exactly. And I had offered, you know, I said, if anything comes up with the dog, if you can't handle it, anything that you need to give me a call, you know, I had no problem, you know, making payments for dog food or whatever. Yeah, we did talk about that.
That's with her daughter?
Yeah, with her daughter. Melody wasn't even in the picture.
Okay. But there came a time when
know.
Melanie came into the picture.
Carrie had gotten sick. She had some other medical problems.
Her daughter?
Yes. Melody, from what I understand, stepped in to help Carrie with the dog.
And when was that?
I'm not sure exactly when, because Carrie and I were not talking after November because of Melody.
Why?
When I went down there for my son's trial, I had stayed with Carrie, and Melody has nothing but horrible things to say about my son to my face on a regular basis, even when she put on my wedding.
Okay.
That's all I heard about.
Oh, okay. So the mother was angry at your son?
Exactly.
Huh?
And she had interceded a letter from my son to Carrie, and she said that if Carrie's plan was to be a jailhouse bride, she wasn't going to have no part of it. She was going to give her an ultimatum that she wasn't going to take care of her child and the dog and everything if this is what her daughter's choice was going to be. I went and I, told Carrie what she had said. Carrie confronted her mom, and Melody twisted it and said that wasn't what she said, and then, you know, Carrie wasn't talking to me.
If you had a daughter, would you want her to marry somebody who was in jail?
No.
Of course not.
No.
Because you would think that that was a bad choice.
Exactly.
So how many months did the dog stay with Miss Marine before you asked for the dog back?
April is when I found out she gave the dog away. So
Now,
it
what
was
I'm
like
asking
7
you-
months.
Now, what I'm asking you, so you knew that Miss Marine had the dog for 7 months.
Not her, Carrie.
How many months did you know that she had the dog, not
None.
Carrie? None.
None.
At all?
None.
And she actually had the dog for how many months?
Between 8 and 9 months.
After your daughter couldn't take care of the dog anymore.
My daughter never took care of the dog.
So that means that for 8 or 9 months you weren't checking on this dog regularly.
Oh, yes, I did.
Well, who did you check with the dog?
There's a mutual party that was taking care of my wiener dog.
You mean a dachshund?
Yeah.
Why wasn't the dachshund with you?
My husband and I had just gotten married, and we lived in an apartment.
So you couldn't take care of these dogs anyway?
We were in the process of purchasing a house.
So there was a period of time when you could not take care of not only this dog, but you couldn't take care of your little dog because you were in an apartment. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So get over it. This wasn't a dog that you were attached to. This wasn't a dog that you were responsible for at any time physically. You're just suing her about this dog because you're angry at her.
No, she has no right to take my son's dog. This is about
Well,
my son.
stop worrying about your son. Let your son worry about getting his life together.
Well, he is doing that.
Well, that's good. He's in rehab, and he should worry about taking care of himself, not a 90-pound untrained pit bull.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her son's girlfriend, Melody Marine, owes for the return of a pit bull named Samson. Melody claims Kim is angry because she is seeking custody of their granddaughter.
Madam, devote your energies to rehabilitating your son and perhaps engaging your granddaughter in some sort of a relationship before you ruin the relationship that you have totally with this lady who, it appears to me, at least based upon what I read, has filed a petition for custody of the child. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Temporary.
Well, somebody's got to take temporary custody of her.
I have a letter here that clearly shows what Melanie's intent is towards my son and towards me, you know.
So, now let's get to the expenses of the dog that you're talking about on your counterclaim, then I'm going to read the letter. You have a counterclaim because you want the cost of the food, etc., for the dog, is that right?
That would be nice.
Well, it would be nice, but she's not responsible for that. You chose to keep the dog. As far as I'm concerned, you could have given the dog away the day it came into your possession. What happened with your duck?
In the morning when I go out to open up the chicken coop and feed them and let them out for the day, Samson's just charged in before I did and kind of head-butted the duck and smacked his head on the back of the chicken coop, and his eye just gradually swelled and festered and eventually had to be removed.
So that you have to understand that Samson was your responsibility, and if you were in any way negligent in taking care of him that allowed him access to the duck, that's not her fault. Now, well, this certainly is a very angry letter. It's a letter, Miss Marine, that you wrote to Zane, I assume, while he was incarcerated.
Yes.
And let me tell you how I evaluate this letter. Your son and her daughter, who she refers to in this letter as a bunch of miserable dopeheads, she refers to her own daughter that way, created a child that she now has to take care of. You have other children?
My children are grown. I have another grandchild.
How old is your other grandchild?
He'll be 6 next month.
Who does he live with?
His mother.
That's what's supposed to happen. You have children who are in their 20s and 30s, and they choose to have families, and they come and visit every Sunday or every other Sunday, and they spend 2-3 hours. They mess up your house, and then they go home. They don't come to live with you when they're 2 years old. You're having a wonderful time. You got a new husband, you got a new house, you're moving, everything is nice, and she's getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she's taking care of kids who have the stomach flu and virus and daycare and all this other stuff, because 2 young people who didn't know enough to use adequate protection had a baby and happened to be 2 drug addicts and said, oh, I'm not, but somebody else is going to take care of my problem. So your son, instead of writing from prison and saying to her, thank you for taking care of my child. If there's anything I can do, keep tabs on what it is that you're spending. I can never repay you, but at least I can help when I get out, is very interested in his dog. Who's got my dog, and who's going to take care of my dog, and you've got my dog, and I want my dog back. And she says in the letter, before you ask about your dog, why don't you ask about your daughter Lark?
Oh, he did.
No.
That's her.
No.
That's her
much later on in the letter, clearly. Before you get angry.
She has a restraining order against us.
Well, there must be a reason for that.
I haven't done anything to her.
I have no restraining order.
She said she has
it hasn't been served. It never got served.
She said she has no restraining order. What I'm telling you is, I think that you should start to mend fences before you build barriers. This lawsuit is a barrier. You have no case anyway, and I think the long-term picture that you should look at is that it's quite probable that this little grandchild is going to require 2 sets of grandparents to help raise her, unless her parents get their acts together. And so far, I see a mother who checked into rehab for 35 days, which isn't enough time. I hope that your son does better in his program, because certainly he probably has a jail term hanging over his head if he doesn't.
Yes.
In any event, you two ladies, if you're smart, are going to get together for the sake of this 22-month-old baby who probably will need you. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I, had hoped that my son would at least get his dog back.
I think that Kim filed this suit because I am seeking temporary custody of my granddaughter.
Oh, no, it's not. Melody thinks she is Saint Melody and thinks that she can just take everybody's stuff and do whatever she wants.
I hope that Kim can follow through with her promise and teach Lark how to crochet and sew, because I know how to cook and garden.
I just wanted to let her know that she's not going to walk all over me, and yes, I am going to watch out for my granddaughter.
18-year-old student Melissa Hopper and her mother, Tammy Dameron, are suing Melissa's grandmother-in-law, cook Annette Carnes, for the value of a '92 Geo Storm. Melissa says she traded in the vehicle so Annette's grandson could buy a car.
Yeah, this is case number 376 on the calendar in the matter of Hopper Dameron versus Carnes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Who's Miss Hopper?
Hi.
Okay, and who are you?
I'm Melissa's mother. I'm Tammy Dameron.
Why don't you have a seat, Miss Dameron? How old are you?
Okay. 18.
Okay, why don't you have a seat for a minute? I don't know if we're going to need you. Is this your former husband?
Yes.
Or soon-to-be former husband?
Yes.
But you are still legally married?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
1 year on September 27th.
And you have a child who was how old?
Almost 3 months.
And Miss Carnes is his grandmother?
Yes.
Got it?
Got it.
From what I gather, a couple of years ago, you and your then boyfriend needed a car. You had an old car, and you decided to get a new one.
Right.
You didn't have good enough credit to buy a new one, so you asked Miss Carnes if she would buy the car in her name. You would make all the payments on the car, you and your husband.
Correct.
And you were going to trade in your old car as the down payment. They gave you a $2,000 credit.
Correct.
Is that right? And Grandma said she would do that, even though she risked her own credit if you didn't make the payments. But you did, in fact, you and your husband made the payments. Were you working during that year?
Yes, I did. Actually, I had a job being a nanny.
Did he work regularly?
No.
What did he do?
I have no idea. He did actually...
What do you mean you have no idea? You lived with him.
He had a DJ job on the side. That's pretty much what he did on the weekends and sometimes during the week. And when he wasn't doing that, he was at home.
Who was taking care of the baby?
He wasn't born at the time.
So you were pregnant? Were you working while you were pregnant?
Yes.
Well, then an incident occurred with your husband.
Correct.
He assaulted you.
Yes.
That case is currently pending, is that
Yes.
right? Is that right, sir?
Yes.
So we're not going to get into that because that case has not gone to trial yet. So you separated. He took the car. You want your $2,000 back.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. Right?
Yes.
What kind of car did you trade in?
92 Geostorm.
And in what month and year did you trade it in?
August of 2003.
Well, explain to me why you think you are entitled to $2,000 back from Miss Carnes.
Basically, we had the arrangement that if we paid the payments that I would be able to drive the car, and we always made the payments. Whenever he wasn't working, I did pay the payments too.
And you used the car?
I honestly didn't have the car that much. He would take me to work.
Well, we don't balance that out. You had it sometimes, he had it sometimes. My question to you is, look, this is what she has.
Okay.
She doesn't have the car.
Right.
He has the car.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Stand up so I don't have to point. I'd like to look at you over here. She doesn't have the car. She's a good Samaritan.
Right.
He has the car.
Right.
All she does is have the aggravation. She has the loan, and she has the problem if he doesn't pay.
Right.
But she doesn't get anything out of this car.
Right.
So why do you think that she should give you $2,000?
Honestly, Judge, I think that I'm entitled to $2,000 because it is not fair that I have to raise my son by myself with no car, nothing. Without.
That's not her problem. You want to say something? You could say something. I mean, that may be his problem, but that's not his grandmother's problem. Why should she go into her pocket and take out $2,000 and give it to you?
Because she's condoning what he did.
So what? That's not a legal response. What?
What I have to say, Judge Judy, is the car was mine. Melissa had transportation. She got together with this guy. The mistake in the matter was that we didn't get anything in writing. I didn't want them to use, Melissa had transportation. She worked, she goes to school. He didn't work. The fact of the matter is, now, whenever he wasn't working and the payments had to be made, it came from Melissa or from...
Ms. Damron, excuse me. You're not following me.
Okay.
Why should Miss Carnes, under what theory is it fair for her to go into her pocket? She doesn't have a car.
Because she didn't want to...
Just a second. She doesn't have a car. He's not a party to this action. Why should she go into her pocket and take out $2,000 and give it to your daughter?
I didn't want that car to be used as a down payment, but she
did it anyway.
Right. And
you're not
exactly. Yeah, she said that. She said that she would put the car in her name and not put their name on the title whatsoever.
Your daughter asked her to do that.
Yeah, and I was there at that time.
Just a minute. If they needed a better car, did they ask you to use your credit?
They did.
And you said no?
Yes.
Okay. Because you didn't want to have that responsibility. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so far, nobody has given me a logical reason why I should have Miss Carnes go into her pocket and take out $2,000 and give it to your daughter.
The reason I see is the fact that she should get the money from her grandson. She should get the money from her grandson because Melissa has the brand new baby. I have to take off work. Melissa had transportation. Now she has no transportation. Right. And he pays no child support.
That's not her problem.
Right. It's not her problem. But I'm saying that she should get the money from
problem. So what you're telling me is she should have more control over her grandson to get him to pay up and be
responsible. Well, basically.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I am, because
that's ridiculous.
She had
that's not what you do in a court.
Right.
Why don't you help her? If you have a job and you are regularly employed, buy a car. If she works, then you say to her, Melissa, dear, you're going to have to make payments on this car so that you'll have transportation. You're her mother. Instead, what you did was you relied on his grandmother to do that because you didn't want to do it. His grandmother is not responsible to give her $2,000. Maybe her soon-to-be ex-husband might be responsible for providing her with some sort of transportation because he now has the transportation. But that's not up to me. That's up to the judge who's handling their divorce. Certainly, Ms. Carnes is not responsible for $2,000 that your daughter would like to buy a new car. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's just mad I won't be with her, and that's what she's causing all this drama over.
Basically, I was tired of being beat up and cheated on.
I've worked since I was 17. I've supported her. She's lived with me since she was 16.
No, he never works, and his grandmother basically bails him out of jail every time he beats my daughter up.
I want her out of my life. I would just want to be able to see my kid and live my life.
Basically, I don't think he's going to have anything to do with my son, considering I don't want him beating up my son, too.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCullough versus Nelson's Nautilus. Step forward, please.
Student Renee McCullough is suing the owners of her gym, Preston Nelson and John Ashe for breaking into her locker and selling her belongings. The men say Renee's locker dues were 6 months delinquent.
Ms. McCullough, you belonged to the defendant's gym, according to your complaint, for about 9 years.
That's correct.
And then there came a time recently that you stopped going, about a year ago. And it is your claim that they clipped the lock off your locker after several months and got rid of your stuff. You want them to pay you $600 for what you claim was in the locker. When did you first rent your locker?
The first time I rented it was for a year. It was in November of 2001.
And how much was the rental on the locker for that year?
I paid $100. He gave me a break. I paid a year in advance.
Is that right?
That sounds correct.
Okay, $100 for the year. That was in 2001.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay in 2002? Is not an answer.
No.
Why not?
Because it was my understanding when I paid for my year in advance that it would be included in my automatic payment out of my bank, and in the event that it wasn't, that Preston would let me know.
Did you have that conversation with her?
I couldn't. I would say yes, I did. We could not find any paperwork to show that, and so I don't know where it all fell short, but I have no paperwork that would show that. Typically, it was a prepaid year only.
Okay. When did you stop going to the gym at all?
At approximately middle of 2002.
And when did you go back?
The end of July of 2003.
And when you went back in July of 2003, you found your locker opened?
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's well over a year ago. What have you done the last year?
After I found out my lock had been cut off, I spoke to Mr. Ashby, and he said he had to speak to his wife to find out where my belongings were. He thought that they still had them on the premises. At that time, I found out that no, they were no longer there. I left a note with Mr. Ashby concerning, I had quite a bit of belongings in that locker, and that if they would pay me for my swimsuit and my shoes, I would go away.
Do you work? I assume you do.
I did previous to this, yes.
What are you doing now?
I'm going back to school.
How do you support yourself?
Through my husband.
Oh, okay. So your family supports itself?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going back to school. What I want to know is, I assume that you have a busy life. I want to know why you're suing him over swimsuit and shoes.
I expect that if they run a business, that they need to comply with the laws that regulate the renting of areas.
Well, but the truth of the matter is, Ms. McCullough, from what you tell me, you didn't go back to the gym for almost a year. And during that period of time, the locker was really not paid for. You assumed that it was going to be paid for. You assumed that they would notify you in the event that it wasn't paid for. Have you lived in the same place
yes.
all the time? Well, what I don't understand, Mr. Nelson, quite frankly, is why couldn't you just send her a note? Drop her a note and say, listen, we're going to empty out your locker because it hasn't been paid for, and it has to be paid for. You better come and get it within the next 2 weeks.
Right. That really, a lot of the specifics, when Johnny came on board, the records were not well kept. We didn't have an automatic payment system in place for lockers. That was something that was discussed, but primarily it's a membership, tanning, health club.
Okay. So what Ms. McCullough was asking for initially was $160. Is that right?
That's what I have, yes.
Right. That's what she said here. Originally, I told me, you've just paid me $160 for my swimsuit and sneakers, that would be fine. And she's here just for the principle of it, right?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $160. That's all. Thank you.
All are excused. You may step out.
It was fair. It was more making them accountable for what they should have stood up to the plate with before.
At the time that we cleaned the lockers out, we didn't find anything of real value in any of the lockers that we cleaned out. Certainly nothing that would have merited $160 in value.
I think if you own a business and you run a business, that you should comply with the laws.
Judy makes good decisions. She's a competent woman, and it's probably the right decision.
Sarah Gardner is suing her former live-in boyfriend, Aaron Zaleski, for rent and a loan to pay a traffic fine. Aaron is countersuing for the unpaid balance on an apartment lease.
Everybody. Yeah, this is case number 403 on the calendar in the matter of Gardner versus Zaleski. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Gardner, you and Mr. Zaleski lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that he owes you for some old bills, some rent, and fines. Mr. Zaletsky says that he agreed, when the two of you parted ways, to a restraining order issued in your favor. And sort of as a quid pro quo, you agreed to take on the responsibility of the bills and the house and the lease, etc. Is that right, sir?
That's correct, Your Honor.
As far as the fines were concerned, he says he never borrowed any money from you. So, when did you live together?
From July of 2003 through the end of June 2004.
And did you both sign a lease?
The first year, his credit wasn't good enough, so I was the only person on the lease for the first year. There were 2 leases involved.
Do you claim that he owes you any money from the first lease?
Yes.
So if he owes you money from the first lease, why did you sign another lease with him?
Because the first lease, I was giving him an opportunity to get back on his feet. He wasn't paying rent from his first place. His roommates were kicking him out. So we had the agreement that he would pay me back if I gave him the opportunity to get back on his feet.
But he didn't do that. He didn't pay you back. And he didn't pay his other roommates back.
Correct.
And despite that, you signed yet another lease with him.
At that time, he was an investment. I had already lent
He's
him.
a bad investment. That
Correct.
means you had bad judgment.
I did.
So now let's start out with lease number 2, because I'm not interested in lease number 1. When did you sign the second lease?
In May of 2004.
Did you sign the lease too, sir?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Very good. And how much was the rent?
My share was $505 a month.
Is that right?
He's correct.
Okay. Did you pay it?
I paid for the first month that I lived there.
How many months did you live there?
Well, 17 days after we moved into the apartment, she informed me that she wanted to end our relationship, and she instructed me that I was to go out and get my own apartment and take care of myself on my own.
So you're telling me that you paid May's rent?
Actually, we moved in, the lease started June 1st.
You mean the landlord gave you a freebie for May?
We moved in at the end of May. They gave us a few free days at the end of May to move in.
Okay. And he moved out when?
The last weekend in June.
Did you pay June's rent?
Yes, I did.
Show me.
I paid all but $30 of it. I have it all documented.
Let me see. Chad. What are these things, these receipt things?
Those were receipts that I was giving a copy to her every time I made a payment to her.
Excuse me?
Excuse me? Did you ever see these before?
No.
Of course not. He does nice tabs, but Mr. Zaletsky, what you're trying to tell me is that the woman that you were sleeping with every night, you would give her a receipt if you gave her $40. I just want you to see if that's what you're trying to tell me.
After this process, probably.
What does that mean? After this process, probably. I want to know, sir. You were living with her?
Not at the time the payments were made.
Oh.
Those were made after she had kicked me out of the apartment.
Did he give you money after he was kicked out of the apartment?
No.
Of course not. By the way, do you have a checking account?
No, not right now.
Did you?
Did I have...
Ever have
Yes.
a checking account?
Yes.
Let me see.
It was from October 2003 to May 2004. Those are all payments made for bills and to Sarah Gardner, check duplicates, and bank statements.
Why don't you have a checkbook anymore, sir?
Because the balance that I had at this bank account was overdrawn, and I did not have time to open up a new banking account.
So you had an overdrawn bank account because you didn't have any money?
Correct.
And yet you were giving her money for some old bills, according to you, that going back to 2003. Is that what you're telling me?
She can be very demanding, Your Honor.
Uh-huh. Okay. 505 you owe her for June because you have no payment here for June, other than the yellow little receipts that I don't believe. Yeah, you can give this back to him. He's got nice color. He did a nice job here, I must say. This is a very, very nice job.
Not as good as she did lying.
Sir, you don't understand. There is no payment for June's rent.
I have the original cash ledger with every payment that I gave her.
I'm not interested in 2003. If she was dumb enough to sign up with you again after you owed her, allegedly, all this money from 2003, that's her problem. That comes under the category of being dumb. I'm just talking about June 2004's rent. And if you can show me that you paid $505 for June 2004's rent, I'll give you credit for it.
Well...
Can you or can you not?
The total amount of rent due from the first lease...
I'm not interested in the first lease.
I overpaid her, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
No.
Show me a check for June's rent.
I cannot do that.
All right. Now, what about this fine, Miss Gardner? When was it? What was it for?
In October of 2003, he got his license taken away. It was for an old parking ticket he didn't pay for. In May of 2004, he wanted to get his license back. He had about $1,300 in fines. The only actual evidence I could come up with that I paid was $475. I know there was more, but I have evidence for $475 of those fines.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
What about these fines, Mr. Zaletsky?
That was money loaned so we could get those cleared up so we could move to Madison.
We. I don't understand the we. Who got the tickets?
I did.
So when did it become a plural, we, so that we could clear them up?
When we were moving on to the next chapter in our relationship and our lives after she graduated college and we were moving to Madison.
They're your fines. Why should she pay them?
She offered.
Because he promised to pay me back.
Of course he did. Do we have a new boyfriend, Miss Gardner?
Yes.
Does he have a job?
Yes, he does.
Does he pay his own way?
Yes, he does. And then some.
Good. Well, at least you learn.
Real quick.
Eventually.
Right. Learn from our mistakes.
Okay. Now, you, sir, say that she agreed to sort of swallow hard with regard to this entire debt. If you consented to a protective order, even though you really weren't harassing her, right? Mm-hmm. So let's start with the fact that she signed up for a protective order because you were bothering her.
Yes.
You were summoned to court.
Mm-hmm.
You consented to the order.
Correct.
Show me where she said, I will assume all of the responsibility.
Can I just say something?
I want to look at it. You can say whatever you want after I look at his
See,
evidence.
it's the last sentence on page 2 and
Yes.
page 3. She stated it twice, Your Honor.
I'm going to look at it. So. Oh, what she says is, Aaron owes me several $1,000s, but I'm willing to cut my losses to get him out of my life.
Correct.
Well, she is cutting her losses, sir. She says you owe it several $1,000s. I just cut it down for you to $980.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, ex-boyfriend Aaron Zalesky owes for breaking an apartment lease. Aaron says Sarah told him to move out.
Now let's get to your counterclaim.
Okay. Sarah Gardner kicked me out on June 17th, 2004.
Sarah Gardner, according to you, told you that she thought it was time for you to get out of the apartment, correct?
Actually, it was a trial separation where I got my own apartment and she had her own apartment, but we were still trying to continue to be friends. There were instances where she even cooked me dinner a few nights, watched movies after I was gone.
Listen, not Oprah. What's your counterclaim about?
My counterclaim is to make up the difference in rent accrued in the apartment since she got evicted and kicked me out. I signed the lease along with her mother as a co-signer, and the rent currently due is $4,985, and I am requesting half of that amount, which is $2,492.50.
Why? Who's suing you?
They will be suing as soon as the apartment is re-rented. She jumped the gun and decided to sue before it was closed.
Your counterclaim is premature, sir.
So would her claim be then too, wouldn't it?
No, sir. You lived there in June. Your behind was in the bed in June. You didn't pay the rent, so you owe her for that. You gathered up hundreds and hundreds of dollars in fines. She paid them. That is not something in futuro. The fact that you think that the landlord may come after you for unpaid rent for the lease that you signed is speculative. Do I make myself clear?
Clear.
Counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $980. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Say one more thing. Look up. Look up. Say thank you, God.
Thank you, God. Honestly, I'm just glad that it's over. I hope I never have to see him again.
Unfortunately, my best was never good enough for her.
He's got issues.
She gave me the greatest year of my life, and I've never been loved more by anybody so genuinely, and I'm going to miss that, and it haunts me every day.
20-year-old machinist Kyle Franklin and his girlfriend, 20-year-old homemaker Tiffany Drury, are suing their former roommate, 20-year-old loan officer Annalisa Diaz, for unpaid rent, the cost to break the lease, and a phone bill.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 36 on the calendar in the matter of Franklin Drury versus Diaz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. May be seated, gentlemen. Have seats.
I assume that this wasn't serendipity that you chose the same ties. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sweet touch. Okay. According to your complaint, you and this young lady used to be friends. You decided that you would take an apartment together. Took the apartment together, and according to your complaint, she owes you money because she moved out of the apartment prior to the termination of the lease, causing you expense. She did not pay for the last month that she should have paid. She did not pay to have the lease broken, and there was also an extant phone bill that you believe she's responsible for. Ms. Diaz says, A, she paid the phone bill.
Right.
B, she wasn't even on the lease. And she was being a good guy because she even paid you 1 extra month when she wasn't living there. So, when did you move in together and why?
Well, actually, we moved in July 2003. And we both agreed that we was going to move into a 3-bedroom apartment.
Okay. Where were you living before July of 2003?
At her parents' house.
Have you been together for a long time?
Yes, ma'am.
How long?
About 1.5 years.
Oh, an eternity. How old are you?
19.
And you?
20.
Are you living together now?
Yes, we have a child together.
But you're not married?
No.
Any particular reason for that?
No.
Well, people who are together for 1.5 years don't necessarily have to get married, but when you have a child together, usually that suggests that you've made a commitment. I mean, this is always a curious thing for me to discuss. I know Bert is particularly interested in this because he has young daughters. So he would like to know the answer to this question. Why no marriage?
We want to have a big wedding and we don't have the money for it. So we're saving up for it. I mean...
Well, that's great, but you don't have a baby beforehand. Baby, you don't make a flower child, you know, a flower girl, a flower boy.
But basically, being married is just a written paper. Our commitment to each other is, just as good as marriage.
Do you work?
No, I stay home with my daughter.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a machinist.
How much money do you earn?
$10.91 an hour.
How old is your baby?
4 months.
You receive any sort of state aid? No. Look at me. Any sort of state aid?
WIC.
So you receive some sort of state aid for the baby?
Ma'am.
Does the government know you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
We just moved into our new apartment.
So before that, they didn't know you were living together?
Right.
See, you always have to follow the money. Following the money is real important. So it's a little bit of commitment and a little bit of WIC. So you decided to move into an apartment together, the three of you. When was that? July?
July 2003.
And who signed the lease?
Me and her did.
Her child.
And actually her child was on the lease with us.
Her child?
Yeah, her child. She told us that she didn't want to she told us that she couldn't be on the lease because her credit was bad. Some people had messed up her credit when she had
whatever it was, she was not on the lease. And how old is her child?
2.5.
A child can't sign the lease.
No, he didn't sign it. She gave us permission to put him on the lease so we could get a 3-bedroom.
It doesn't make any difference. She didn't sign the lease. So the two of you signed the lease and she did not. Moved into an apartment in July. The lease was for how long?
13 months.
When did you move out?
I moved out in January, but I didn't get my stuff out until March.
March? When in March?
The second week of March.
Oh, so did you pay rent through March?
No.
Why not?
I paid February's rent because I left on the last week of January, so I knew I needed to pay February. I went to get my belongings before February was up, and I was unable to get everything because I only had someone's truck for a certain amount of time.
Is this the boyfriend?
Yes.
He should have gone with you to get the stuff out.
He was with me.
Good, so you should have gotten it all out in February. You left your stuff there, you're responsible for your share of March's rent, which was how much?
$3.93.
That you got. Now you want her also to pay for what it cost you to break your lease. Why?
Well, we agreed back in January. We started talking about if we decided to move out and get different apartments that we would both use our tax money and split the difference, which was $785.
I don't see her responsible for breaking your lease, for what it cost you to break your lease. She's not on the lease.
But she agreed. She told us that she would.
We had a verbal agreement.
Yeah, she agreed that she'd pay half.
Our verbal agreement also considered him living there and helping me pay my half. But then they decided they didn't want him there, and that's when the whole discussion of us moving out even came up.
Why didn't they want him there?
There was issues between, I mean, it was too crowded for one. When their baby came, it was agreed upon when we first moved in that their daughter and my son, since they were still so little, were going to be able to share a room. And when their baby came, they were given so much gifts that it ended up that my son, myself, and him were all in one bedroom. And it just started from there. We didn't have room.
Okay,
privacy.
so it wasn't a good situation.
Right.
I got it. Okay. Well, whatever other reason, it wasn't a good situation. $393 in rent. That's what they owe you so far. What about the phone bill?
Well, ma'am, the phone bill's in my name, and Adam, her boyfriend, went to Oklahoma in January, and she asked if, you know, she could call him and accept his collect calls, and I said that it was okay as long as she paid the phone bill. Her total on the phone bill charges was $362.65. I called Mrs. Diaz on the 17th of March to remind her that the phone bill was due on the 19th. She said that she would bring the money to me on the 19th, and on the 19th she never brought me the money. So the phone bill was then late. Coincidentally, she got a note on her car saying Tiffany's taking you to court. So she calls me telling me that she sent the money to Verizon herself. Didn't have the account number or nothing. Just sent it to Verizon without letting me know, you know, and I called Verizon all week and they never received a payment.
So you didn't get paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
They were given the money on the 19th.
By whom?
By myself, and he was with me.
Oh, let me hear. Tell me about it.
We went, when I got off of work that Friday, on the 19th, I got off of work. I went and got a payday loan for a majority of the money.
Show me proof of that.
Well, I have the check I wrote to the payday place, which was half of it, and the other 100 I borrowed from him. But they were given cash. I don't have proof because I didn't think I needed to get a receipt
any cash,
from a friend.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Kyle Franklin and his girlfriend, Tiffany Drury, claim former roommate Annalisa Diaz owes for breaking an apartment lease, unpaid rent, and a phone bill.
Go ahead.
At one point, I was going to mail it directly to the phone company, and I wanted the account number it would be applied to. She did not want to give that to me, so
No,
that's
she said she was going to send the check to the phone company, but she never had the account number, so we didn't understand why she would send a check with no account number. And she actually said that that they charged the money that she sent for our account, they charged to her other account, which some other roommates
of hers. She had a bad account, and they put the money towards that instead of my account.
Well, that's an interesting story to make up.
That was the story that I said I wasn't going to do because I figured that was what was going to happen.
So you remember having listen to me. Therefore, what you're telling me, Ms. Diaz, is the statements that the plaintiff made about you saying, I'm going to send the money directly, did happen, but just didn't happen the way they just told me it happened.
Right.
Now, you owe Verizon an old bill. Is that right?
Yes.
How old?
2 years.
So you scammed Verizon out of $100, $50, $200 by using their services and not paying for it.
No, it was another roommate situation where my bill was ran up and I'm not going to pay it.
She's doing the same
so
thing
she turned
to
around
us.
and said to us.
Ms. Diaz, I don't believe you. I don't believe that you gave him any cash. You can sit down because I don't want you to have to trip over your tie and lying for her. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a very good thing, because otherwise I have to eat you for breakfast, and I've already had breakfast, so I'm kind of full right now. You owe him for a month's rent and for your phone bill. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $755.65. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It just wasn't a good situation. We should have never got into it in the first place.
We were pretty close with them, but now we don't really talk anymore.
They just told me they didn't want me there no more. I mean, basically, that was it.
I'm just, glad it's done and over with, and we just learned a lesson not to have roommates.
Convenience store clerk Jennifer Chadwick is suing 18-year-old student Adam Brewer for causing false charges to be brought against her for selling alcohol to a minor. Adam is countersuing, claiming Jennifer caused him to be arrested.
Case number 426 on the calendar in the matter of Chadwick versus Brewer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Is this your son? Yes. And this?
This is my friend Jessica, my coworker.
Oh. How old are you, Mr. Brewer?
18.
I gather you went camping for an evening?
Yes.
Who did you go with?
My friend Caitlin.
Just the two of you went camping?
No, we met more friends there.
How many more friends?
6 to 10.
So you were going to have a party?
Yes, basically.
At the campsite?
Yes.
And this is a private campsite?
No.
You have to pay to get in?
Yes.
Who do you pay?
At the front gate.
You drove your car?
No, I got dropped off and I was meeting Caitlin there.
Your Honor, he wasn't even allowed to be at the campground.
You got dropped off by whom?
One of my friends, Joseph.
And where were you going to be sleeping?
On Caitlin's site.
Did you pay?
Yes, you have to pay a $5 per person on each site. I paid Caitlin's father, but he never got to the campsite in time.
Do you have the ability to pay at the gate when you come in?
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Mr. Brewer, so let me understand this. You have the ability when you walk into the gate to pay the person at the gate. Instead, you chose to give the $5 to somebody else. Is this what you're telling me? I just want to know what you're telling me.
You need permission from the person that has their name on the site first. So I had to go in and make sure I had permission first.
He's a fast thinker. Watch. He actually, at age 18, thinks that he's smarter than I am. You ultimately got arrested or taken into custody, didn't you, for not paying? Isn't that right?
No.
Really? You were taken into custody for something, Mr. Brewer. You want to explain it to me?
Illegal possession of alcohol by a minor.
No. You were stopped for something else.
I was stopped for trespassing.
Right!
But I wasn't taken into
Listen
custody.
to me. Listen to me. Mr. Brewer, do you think you're smarter than I am?
No, Your Honor.
On your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day when I'm sleeping. I guarantee you, sir, when I ask you a question, if I don't get a straight answer from you, not a convoluted one, not one that's tiptoeing around the truth, I'm going to wipe up the floor with you. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. You understand me?
Yes.
Good. You don't mind that, do you?
Mm-mm.
Good. Now, after you were there, and according to you, gave Caitlin's father this $5, and Caitlin's father, being the irresponsible person that he is, never turned in your $5, so you got stopped for trespassing. You said that all in one breath.
Amazing.
You got thirsty, and you needed some cigarettes, right?
Yep.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry. Yes, Your Honor.
So you went to the store where Miss Chadwick worked?
Yes.
What happened when Mr. Brewer came into your store, Miss Chadwick?
Mr. Brewer walked in the store, he went to the cooler and grabbed a soda. He then proceeded to come up to the desk, the counter, and ask me how much the six-pack was. He doesn't look old enough to buy alcohol. I automatically assumed he meant soda. So I told him $2.69 for the six-pack of soda, and I rang him up for it, and I put this one soda in a bag, and I gave him a bag to get the rest of the soda. And that was the last that I saw of him, because I'd have no vision of the cooler where I'm working.
That's not true.
What about the cigarettes?
I do not recall selling him cigarettes. I really don't.
I have the police report that says it does.
Don't interrupt. I don't like to be interrupted. And then, according to you, you were served with a summons for selling alcohol to a minor.
Yes.
You had legal fees, and other fees, and that's the basis of your lawsuit.
Right.
That he sort of tricked you.
Correct.
Into selling him the alcohol. And then when he came outside, was that when you were stopped for trespassing?
Yes.
And what happened when you were stopped for trespassing?
He escorted me to the store again, and I talked to the manager, which was also one of the co-owners. She told him to escort me out front and let me go.
Co-owners of what?
The campground, Lake Pembroke Creek Campground.
I thought you said it wasn't a private campground.
It's not, but somebody has to own it.
Do you attend school, Mr. Brewer?
Yes.
What school do you attend?
Booth Bay Region High School.
When do you anticipate graduating?
This year, in June.
Perfect. Private as opposed to public, Mr. Brewer, means that if individuals own a campground, that means it's a private campground. It's not owned by the state where you live. Now do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this was a private campground, right?
Yes.
Now, when were you stopped for the alcohol, Mr. Brewer?
Around 8:45.
Is that the same time that you were stopped for trespassing?
No, I was stopped for trespassing around 8:30.
And what'd you do with what you were carrying?
I kept it on me.
Well, how did you get caught with this alcohol? How did that happen?
When the police arrived, they asked to search my backpack.
When did the police arrive?
When I was walking out, I met the other co-owner of the campground. He told the security guard to call the police, give me a warning, and send me away.
Call the police for trespassing?
Yes.
Didn't you say to them, go to Caitlin's father, I gave him my $5. Didn't you say that to them?
Yes, I did.
And they didn't?
No, they called up front. Caitlin's father never went in and paid the $5, so therefore I wasn't on the list.
He would never be on the list to begin with because he was caught for trespassing the year before.
No.
He was not allowed. He was not allowed to be in the
No, that's a lie.
Just a second. How do you know he was stopped for trespassing the year before, Miss Chadwick?
We have this list in the store up by the reservation desk of people who are not allowed in the campground, period, for reasons maybe they got kicked out the year before or anything like that. And his name is on the list, and it has been, and it was before this incident.
Were you stopped the year before in that campground, sir?
No.
What about the year before that?
No.
At any time?
No.
I mean, she's just making it up.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Convenience store clerk Jennifer Chadwick says customer Adam Brewer owes for legal fees for false charges of selling alcohol to a minor.
Well, Mr. Brewer, it seems to me security at the campground says that you were told not to return to that campground.
As of this time, yes.
No. Officer's narrative indicates that Adam Brewer was told not to return to the campground and that they saw him on the property and wanted him arrested.
No. The first time I was on there without a cite because I was waiting for the campground to open up and accept cites.
So there was a time when you were told not to come back to that campground.
No, I was told not to come back unless I had a cite. I was waiting for my mother to come back and book it.
Well, that's not what security says. Then, when they stopped you and they said, can we look through your backpack, and they found this alcohol, you lied to them, right?
No.
Well, let me read what you said. Adam stated that he didn't know where it came from when asked where he got it from.
I told him I didn't want to tell.
No, that's not what they say. So the police made another mistake.
No.
They made another mistake.
No, I'm not saying that.
So you're saying that they lied on purpose in this
No.
police report? Well, there's either it was a mistake or it's on purpose. Which one was it?
Neither.
It has to be either a mistake. It's wrong. What's written in this report
No,
is
it's
wrong.
not. No,
so
it's
either
not.
it was a mistake or they lied on purpose.
No.
Got it? Were you in the store at the time this young man came into the store?
Yes.
Step up, please. Tell me your name.
My name's Jessica Black.
Please describe what you saw.
I saw the defendant step up to the counter with a can of soda, and I saw him and Jen talk a little bit, and Jen rang him in, and then he stepped away from the counter. That's all I saw, because I was back to them washing dishes at the time. So.
All right, Mr. Brewer, now I'd like you to describe for me how it is that the plaintiff sold you alcohol.
I walked up to the counter, set a Mountain Dew can on the counter. I asked specifically for a Smirnoff six-pack.
Just a second. So you brought up a can of soda
Yes.
to the counter.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I asked specifically, Smirnoff Twisted Green Apple, how much it was. She said $7.49. Would you like one? I said yes. She also sold me a pack of cigarettes that night.
So let's see what we have. How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
We have an 18-year-old young man who goes to a place where he's required to pay an admission, and he doesn't. Some story about Caitlin's father, who is not even mentioned in this report in your narrative. Then he's told not to come back to the campsite, because that's what the security guard says. And he comes back anyway. Then the police stop him for trespassing. They look in his backpack. They say, where did you get this from? He says, I don't know. So he thinks that being slippery is okay. Well, being slippery is not okay. I think that he was a pretty good scam that you had, taking a bottle of Mountain Dew over to the counter, because I think that you could have just as well, if you wanted a six-pack and they're out there, you could take a six-pack and put that on the counter. I mean, that would be the normal thing to do. If you wanted to buy a six-pack, you would pick up a six-pack, bring it up to the counter and say, this is what I want. Is that what you did?
No.
No. You brought up the can of soda and said, how much is a six-pack?
Oh, Smirnoff Twisted Green Apple. I stated.
You're a liar.
I am not. I stated it.
You're a liar. I don't believe you. And if your mother believes you, she's going to spend a lot of time visiting you every other Sunday.
Told us.
Listen to me. She's going to be visiting you unless you straighten up every other Sunday. How much were your legal fees?
My legal fees were $711 total. I have the bills right here if you'd like.
I'd like to see them, please.
I also have a paper here that says the charges against me have been dropped because of insufficient evidence. I missed an entire semester of school to deal with this. I'm going to school to be a teacher.
Okay. Now, Mr. Brewer, let us assume, just for the briefest of moments, that I believe you. Let's assume that for a moment, that I believe this cock and bull story that you just gave me. You knew you weren't supposed to buy alcohol, so why did you do it?
Bad decision. Wasn't thinking.
Well, if it's a bad decision, sir, where do you get the gall to counterclaim for $4,500 this 20-year-old girl who had the misfortune of falling into your scheme? Where do you get the audacity to sue her?
I'm suing her for my fees that I had to pay for court. Hers was settled in November. Mine was settled in August. I spent
Sir,
longer time.
it's your fault.
It's not my fault that she didn't card me.
Unless you get him some serious help, I want you to put away one Sunday a month for the next 30 years, because he refuses to accept responsibility for doing the wrong thing.
I did accept responsibility. Right. I settled it myself.
Oh, God almighty. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,711. $4,000.
No, that's not even right.
$4,000 is for the annoyance, the fact that you lost a semester from school because of your ridiculousness.
I lost my own time.
Good! You deserve it!
How?
Get him out of here.
Parties are excused.
I'm just glad that Judge Judy saw it my way, saw the truth, what really happened.
She lied. Blatantly lied out there.
He asked me how much a six-pack was. He had a soda on the counter. What else was I supposed to think?
I had lost my car, drowned.
That's not my fault.
My family's still giving me crap for it. I mean, come on.
I hope he learns a little bit of responsibility and respect for authority.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Eden versus Neely. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Desiree Eden is suing her father's girlfriend, EMT tech Susan Neely, for the return of payments on a Dodge Neon she repossessed. Susan is countersuing for the vehicle's unpaid balance and insurance payments.
Who are you?
I'm the dad.
Why don't you stand up, sir? Miss Eden, while this gentleman, who's your father, is not a defendant, I'm going to have him stand here because I think it's important. Miss Neely is your father's girlfriend. They live together, is that right?
Yes.
According to what I read, a couple of years ago, you needed a car. You were living with your father and his girlfriend. And Miss Neely agreed to buy a car. You were underage, so it was in her name. And tell me what the agreement was.
The agreement was that I paid the car payments on the car as it came. I paid the $1,000 down plus the car payments on it.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
From when to when?
From November 2003 to November 26th of 2004.
And you made the payments every month?
Yes.
Who paid the insurance?
I paid it when she asked for it.
The agreement was that you would make the monthly payments?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neely, is it correct that Miss Eden made the monthly payments on the car from November of 2003 to November of 2004?
Her last payment was on November the 12th.
So the answer would be yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happened in November of 2004?
Okay, the day after Thanksgiving, she decided that she was going to move out and move in with her boyfriend. And I told her she could not take the car because that car was in my name. It was titled in my name. And I would not let her have it because if something should happen and they go out and have a wreck and kill somebody, it comes back on me. So I told her she had to leave the car with me, and if she came with the balance owed against the car, then I would sign it over to her.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second.
She did not come up with the $2,201.93 that was owed against the car, so I would not allow her to have it.
Well, wasn't your agreement. Ms. Neely, that wasn't your agreement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Eden says her father's girlfriend, Susan Neely, illegally repossessed her car. Susan says she took the car away when Desiree moved in with her boyfriend.
When did you turn 18?
May 23rd.
Of 2004?
Of 2004.
Once she turned 18 and continued to make the payments, and you continued to accept the payments, that contract that you had with her, that verbal contract, was ratified, which meant it became a contract. That contract's terms were very simple. You make the payments until the car is paid off, I'll sign the title over to you. That was your contract.
But she's no longer making payments.
She stopped making payments because you wouldn't let her take the car.
Correct.
What we're talking about is an anticipatory breach, which is you said to yourself, I'm not so sure whether she's going to continue to make the payments on the car if she's not here and living with the boyfriend, so I'm not going to let her have the car. That's what you really said.
Well, our insurance company told us that.
Hey, don't tell me what your insurance company told you. The insurance company cannot interpret a contract that you had with her.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Also, when it was told to her when we decided to get the car for her, it was also told that she would stay in school, and it depended on her grades. That way we could also use the car. If she starts slipping a little bit, we could take the car away from her.
She hadn't slipped? Sir, she just decided to move out and move in with her boyfriend.
Exactly. But after that is when she lost her job. She quit school.
I did not.
But just a second. Just a second. Mr. Eden, at the time she left, she was making the payments.
Yes.
She was in school.
Yep.
And she had a job.
Yes.
You can't anticipate what's going to happen afterwards. Where's the car now?
It is at my house.
They have it for sale for $2,500.
Car is hers.
Okay, who pays the rest of the...
She does.
Okay. Does she pay that to us or to the car dealership or...
Are you working?
No, ma'am.
Well, how are you going to make the payments on the car?
Well, I just moved back into my mom's here recently. I have to get another job.
Where's the boyfriend?
Right here.
How come you moved out of his house?
We both moved into my mom's house. We were having too much problems in Monette where we were living with him. He had assaulted me shortly after I moved out.
Who did?
My father. I had to get a restraining order against him on December 8th. He assaulted me on December 7th.
About what?
About he was mad that I moved out and I was living with him.
Does he work?
Yes, he does.
What does he do?
He is
Don't
in
look down.
factory.
What?
Factory.
And what about you?
I'm in school, high school.
How do you do in high school?
I do really good. I have good grades.
You do really well.
I do really well. I try.
I have a report card from when she left.
We don't need you to do any negatives.
Okay, I just sort of...
Listen to me. Is he in school?
No, he's not.
How old is he?
22.
Do you have the ability to do better in school?
Yes, ma'am.
It's really dumb to hitch your wagon to a star when you're 18 years old, especially when the star isn't such a star. Unless you get an education, it's going to be a struggle your whole life. You want to struggle your whole life?
No, Your Honor.
You know what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You look like you have the potential to do okay. Unless you recognize your potential, you're going to be clawing at life your whole life. I think that taking back this car is probably going to be a terrible burden for you, financially, because you don't have the money for it now, right?
Right.
So you put in $4,000 into the car in the year that you had it, in payments that you made.
Correct.
Let's say you had to rent a car, a basic car, for the year. That would have cost you about $2,000 or $166 a month, basic. So you have the following choice. Either you assume full financial responsibility for this car, or I'm prepared to award you half of what you're requesting, which is $2,000, which might give you an opportunity of going and finding a good second-hand car that wouldn't give you any further payments. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Ms. Neely and your father can go and sell this car. If they make a profit, fine. If they don't, fine. You think that's a smarter idea for you?
Yes, I do, because I don't know what they've done. I'm not sure what they've done to the car since I haven't had it.
Well, I don't think they've purposely done anything. They're trying to sell it. All right. You can't anticipate a breach of a contract. You had an agreement with this young lady, and she fulfilled her end of the agreement. She used the car for a year, over a year. She understands that that's wear and tear on the car. I'm awarding her $2,000. Be smart. Buy wheels so that you can get yourself to and from school and to and from a part-time job. Do well in school. Think a little higher than what you know. Think a little higher, think. Can I reach my potential, and what is that?
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have any children, do you?
Oh, no.
Right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And you don't plan on any for a while, right?
No, ma'am.
Very smart. Make sure. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,000. That's all.
You may step out.
We went driving around. He got upset because we were going to get married and hit me a couple times.
No, I never assaulted my daughter.
She moved out, moved in with me, and we had trouble ever since.
He basically told her that she couldn't go around anybody and do anything. We couldn't come around her.
They like to lie, and they're vicious people, I think.
They got what they deserve. They put her through a lot of trouble when I first met her.
They're portraying to be such innocent people right now, and they've got plans to move to Illinois just as soon as they get the money to go, and I think they just got their money.
I think when he grows up and becomes a man, then he can realize what he's missed out on throughout the years.
For things to turn out like this is just something I don't know if I'll ever get over. I don't know if she'll ever get over.
Account manager Fred Grande is suing the mother of his child, 25-year-old waitress Mariam Wahab, for the return of an engagement ring. Mariam claims the ring was a birthday gift.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 60 on the calendar, the matter of Grande versus Wahab. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Grande, you want the engagement ring back, and the defendant says it was not an engagement ring but a birthday Christmas present, right?
That's correct.
Can I see the receipt for the ring? Okay, well, the first thing I have to ascertain is, Mr. Grande, you are suing her for $699 for the return of the value of the ring, and you only paid $359.11 for it. What's the other money for?
Okay, originally the $699 is the retail value of the ring. I did have it appraised, and the total that I did pay on it is $385, and that's the total amount that I did pay into it. So that's what I would be seeking, is $385.
But didn't you think I'd figure that out?
Yeah.
I mean, when you filed your lawsuit, didn't you think that I'd figure out that you were seeking twice as much as you paid for the ring?
Well,
you are the only human being in history who buys a ring from a jewelry store and it doubles in value in a relatively short period of time. All right, so you're not seeking $700 for the ring, you're seeking $359.11.
That's correct.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with shooting big, though.
Oh, I shoot big too, sir. Okay, so now we know what your lawsuit is about, Mr. Grande. You and the defendant have a child together, is that right?
We do.
And how old is that child?
She's 16 months.
And you share custody of her?
We do.
I have full custody.
Shh. Don't speak out. Okay. I'm really good at getting information. It's really my strong suit. I'm really good at getting quality, accurate information. But I like to get it from the person who I choose to get it from. Do you have joint custody, sir?
She has sole custody. I have joint legal custody, though.
Okay, so she has sole physical custody. She takes care of all the problems, and you can say, I have joint legal custody.
Somewhat.
See, I told you I shoot big. So you had a long-term relationship with her?
Yeah, over 2 years.
Oh, lifetime. And in the 2 years that you were together, you managed to have a relationship, have a baby, and separate. Is that right?
Correct.
And since I assume, Mr. Grande, that you have been to court, if you have joint legal custody, despite the fact that she has physical custody, I also assume that there is a support order.
There is.
And how much is the support order?
It's for $337 a month, but right now I'm currently paying $500.
Well, $337 a month is the support order, and if you're paying $500, there must have been some arrears.
Correct.
Which means that you weren't paying for a while.
Not necessarily, no.
Well, that's what arrears are, sir. Arrears are fixed by the court.
Correct.
If, for a period of time, you are not paying support. Don't you think that they put me here for a reason?
Oh, I understand.
You think that I was a go-go dancer before I got this job? I was not. I was a judge in the family court. Arrears are when you don't pay support. They fix on and they tack on an additional amount for that period of time that you didn't pay support.
It's not from lack of payment, though. We originally went to court in June, and she felt that the $250 wasn't sufficient, so then we didn't get to court and finalize until September. So
Just a minute. She felt what $250 wasn't sufficient?
Originally, the support order was set at $250, and she didn't feel that.
Okay. So originally, a court set child support at $250, or you were paying it voluntarily?
It hadn't been set in any decree yet.
Fine. So you were giving her voluntarily, according to you, $250 a month.
She didn't get any money till September, till the final decree was established.
Now, the final decree was what? $337?
Correct.
Well, you just said to me they felt that $250 wasn't enough.
It was for back payments, $337 times all the months since the original court date of June. So that's why from the start, I was $1,400.
What was this $250 that you were talking to me about, Mr. Grande?
That's what our lawyers had come to agreement, and we thought that's what the amount should have been set at.
Mr. Grande, is what you're telling me from the time you and the defendant separated until the time the court fixed an order of support, you were not paying any money?
No.
So, what I said to you was, your support order is $337, and because you were dingling around, they added another amount to cover the arrears for when you weren't paying any money. And you ought to respond, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how long was it that you were separated, Mr. Grande, before the court set an order of support?
She moved out in February 2002.
Yes, and when did the court make a support order?
September of 2002.
February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So for 8 months, you didn't pay any support. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Now let's get to this $350 engagement ring, the Hope Diamond that you bought for her. Can I see the ring? That looks like a pretty ring. Doesn't look like any sort of an engagement ring I ever saw. Engagement ring usually has one nice stone right there in the middle that just sits there and smiles at you. Give this back to her until I decide what to do with it, would you? When's your birthday?
December 18th.
And is it on December 18th every year?
Yes.
It doesn't change dates. You know, 2002 it's December 18th, 2003 it's December 18th, right?
Right.
So, Mr. Grande, you're going to explain to me, sir, how serendipitously, that means just by accident, sort of, you purchased this ring at the jewelry store on December 18th, 2002.
Coincidence.
Coincidence.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. He says his ex-fiancée, Mariam Wahab, owes for the return of an engagement ring. Mariam says the ring was a birthday gift.
Tell me what happened when you gave her the ring in December of 2000, December 18th, 2002, or whenever you gave it to her.
It's not when I gave it to her, but I'll explain it to you.
When did you give it to her?
I took myself, her mother, her brother, and his wife, and my mother out to dinner, and that's when I presented the ring to her.
Explain to me how you did that.
Well, we sat down before we got the food. I opened the case, showed it to her, and I said, will you marry me? I didn't say happy birthday. I didn't say Merry Christmas. I said, will you marry me?
And what did she say?
Well, of course, she said yes.
I would have thought twice.
If she said no, she wouldn't be wearing the ring, right?
Okay. Okay, good. So that's how it happened.
Correct.
And that was on what date, sir?
I would say it was about December 20th.
And you remember that distinctly?
I know it was after her birthday.
No, do you remember distinctly exactly how it happened? Because
yes, I do.
We're not talking so long ago, right?
No.
So you remember that day and that dinner clearly?
I do.
And you would remember something that happened the day before also clearly. Is that right?
I would.
Your daughter wasn't born yet, is that right?
She wasn't.
But the defendant was pregnant at the time.
She was due very soon.
So she was very pregnant at the time. So it was an exciting time, and you would remember that time. What did you get for the defendant for her birthday December of 2002, 2 days before you gave her the ring?
I believe with some clothes.
No, you're not, you believe. I'm going to give you a minute to just sit back and think about it. Her birthday, your girlfriend, who's very pregnant, going to have your baby, who you love desperately, who you had bought a ring for, 2 days before you gave it to her, is celebrating a birthday on December 18th. And birthdays are really important when you have a new relationship, so you wouldn't think of not getting her something for her birthday.
Correct.
So now I want you to think really hard and tell me what you bought her for her birthday. Think hard. Why don't you put on your thinking cap?
I believe it was a sweater and an outfit.
Was it a maternity sweater or a regular sweater?
It was a regular sweater.
Was it a maternity outfit or a regular outfit?
It was regular.
Was it a daytime outfit or an evening outfit?
Daytime. Well, I know what you're getting at. I do.
You do?
I do.
Then if you do, then why don't you just, instead of lying...
Well, because if...
No, listen to me. Instead of lying and making things up as you're going, why don't you just say, quite frankly, Judge, I don't remember. I'm sure I bought her a birthday present on her birthday, but quite frankly, I don't remember, instead of standing there like a jerk and making things up.
I don't think that's the case.
What do you mean you don't think that's the case? You don't think that I know that you just stood there and made up the fact that you got her a sweater and an outfit for her birthday?
I was planning on giving her the ring around her birthday and before Christmas. I mean, it's not like I was making the best money, at that time, so...
Mr. Grande, don't you understand what I just said to you? I said that you lied when you just told me that you got her a sweater and an outfit for her birthday, when in fact... You just told me now that you got her nothing else because you were planning on giving her a ring around her birthday. And I said to you, don't stand there and make things up as you're going along because it makes you look ridiculous. Now, do you want to explain to me how you got this ring?
Yes, it was on my birthday, December 18th. We went to dinner that night on my birthday. It was my mom, my brother, his girlfriend, and he didn't give it to me where anybody else could see it. He handed me the box under the table and didn't say anything. He never asked me to marry him, nothing like that. And I took it and then I brought it above the table and I showed everybody else, and that was it. Okay. And he gave me the receipt to go get it sized.
That's how you have the receipt?
Right.
Okay. When did you separate?
February 18th. It was 2003. It was after I had the baby. She was 2 months old.
And when for the first time did he ask you for the ring back?
He sent me an email probably around December. I'm not sure of the month, but it was a while ago.
December of 2000. Can I see? Is that the email? May I have it, please?
And he asked me for it back.
Oh. It's kind of colorful language, so
I can take it. Now, when did you separate, Mr. Grande?
She moved out in February.
February of what year?
2003.
And this was sent on February 2004, a year later.
Mm-hmm.
And this was after you had been in court, is that right? Because I see you've got lawyers here.
Mm-hmm.
So after you were taken to court and you were given a support order in the amount of $500 a month, which includes arrears, we got this. Is that right?
Correct.
Too bad.
They didn't address
I have to make a determination. I'm speaking. I have to make a determination whether the ring that you gave her a year and a half ago was a birthday present or an engagement present. So let's try to look at certain objective data. A, we had a relationship that had come to a point when there was going to be a permanent commitment because you had a child together. B, I find that it was not serendipitous that this ring was purchased on the day of her birthday, and I believe her and not you that it was the 18th of December when the family went out to dinner to celebrate her birthday, and not you taking the family out to dinner to present her with an engagement ring. When it was presented to her, it was just given to her exactly as she said as it was given to her, which is
under the table.
Under the table. Here it is. She took it out and showed it to everybody.
We hadn't.
I find that, furthermore,
No.
If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It doesn't look like an engagement ring. It looks like a ring.
Judge, we have an engagement party. This is important, though.
I'm speaking.
Do I have a chance when you're done?
No. You had your chance. She had her chance. Now I'm ruling. Now you have
to
be quiet.
There was an engagement party
now
in
you
Virginia.
have to be quiet. Do you understand? Now you have to be quiet. Most importantly, sir, how you have the audacity to sue her for a $300 ring when for 6 months you paid not 1 penny in child support, not a penny, is something, quite frankly, Mr. Grande, that I don't understand. And your demand for the engagement ring back, engagement ring is in quotes, made a year after you separated, at a time when she was taking you to court for support, is outrageous. And before I would come to court, when I had committed an outrageous act to seek the return of a $300 ring, I would take a good stiff drink and think twice about where my morals are. Your case is dismissed, Mr. Grande. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He thought I started dating other people, and that's when he got mad and asked for his ring back, and I said no.
We had an engagement party in Virginia, which didn't get brought up. Was that a fake engagement party? I doubt it.
Right, we just tried to make it look good, like I was getting married before I was pregnant, before I told him I was pregnant.
I take care of my child. I pay support. I've never missed a payment.
As far as the child support, for example, he tries to get over on everybody as much as he can, and like this. But in the end, he always ends up looking stupid.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ewell versus Allen, step forward, please.
Corporate receptionist Lori Ewell is suing her ex-boyfriend, Jason Allen, for his share of credit card charges. Jason says he doesn't owe Lori a dime.
Miss Ewell, you and the defendant were dating. He was in the process of getting a divorce. And according to your complaint, the two of you agreed that you were going to use one of your credit cards. He would use one of your credit cards for all of the expenses, dating expenses, his expenses, because of some machinations attached to the divorce. And that he would be responsible for paying that credit card. You gave him the credit card?
No.
You held on to the credit card?
Yeah.
And according to your complaint, he ultimately, the relationship wound down. You used the credit card, a couple of $1,000s worth of charges on the credit card. He gave you a check for $2,000 to cover the expenses on the credit card, and then he stopped payment on the check. Mr. Allen says that there was never an agreement with regard to the credit card. He gave you the $2,000 to help you pay down your debt, and that when you broke up with him, he put a stop payment on it. That's your defense.
That's correct.
That doesn't sound very convincing, Mr. Allen.
Well, I don't feel that I owe her anything.
I didn't ask you what you feel. I just made a statement. The statement was, that doesn't sound very convincing. So I want you to digest that for a moment. When did you meet him?
September 3rd, his birthday.
And tell me about this arrangement that you made with him with the credit card. When did you first have that discussion with him?
Shortly after we were dating, about 2 weeks later, he couldn't use his credit, because he paid for like some of the dinners in the beginning, like the first week, and everything was fine. Second week, he couldn't use his credit card.
Well, what did he say to you? I want to know what he said to you.
He's going through a divorce, and that he couldn't use his credit card because of the whole legal thing or something. So I was like, okay. So we were going to use my credit card. I said, okay. I said, I'm already in enough debt already. I said, so just as long as you promise me you'll pay me back. And he said, oh, yes, I will, because he's going to get some money from refinancing his house that his ex-wife wanted to keep. So $30,000 was going to come his way. And he goes, don't worry, Lori. Well, then I started shopping. Okay, I was buying all the groceries for, almost every day.
Was he living with you?
Yeah.
When did he move in with you?
End of September, about.
And how long did that last?
That lasted till December 10th was when I broke out with him.
So what were you using the credit cards for?
Groceries.
What else?
That's basically it, just grocery shopping, just drinks, beverages, food, meat.
Okay. And then you broke up in September. Tell me about the $2,000 check.
That he wrote me on the 8th, and it was actually...
Can I see the check, please?
Yes. And I also have... Here's all the shopping I did.
Okay. So what happened after he wrote you the check for $2,000?
I found out he was lying to me 2 days later, and so I thought...
What do you mean you found that he was lying to you?
He told me he was at... The day he wrote that check out, he told me he was at work all day, had a full work story, like, oh, this happened and that happened. I did detail... He worked on this guy's car, and he said that guy offered him whiskey, and he, drank with this man. And he worked at the man's house, the guy who's doing the work for. And so I believed him. It was a story, work story, And I found out later from receipts that I found, beach girls, didn't know what that was. And I found out that from the recording, the receipts, the ATM receipts, from 2 to 5, he was there at this beach girls place. And I called it at work. I didn't know what the heck beach girls was. And it turned out to be a bikini bar, a disgusting
Okay, so you found out he lied to you where he spent his afternoon. And what did you do?
So when I found that out, I broke up with him. And then I hadn't cashed the check yet because I was in no hurry because I trusted him.
Now I'll hear your end of the story, Mr. Allen.
Well, we met September. We started dating. it started getting good. I was involved in a divorce. I even brought my daughter to meet this girl.
Let's get to the credit cards. In September, did you tell her that you couldn't use your credit cards?
I told her I couldn't use my credit card.
Just a second. And did you tell her that if you used her credit cards, because you had to use somebody's credit cards, if you used her credit cards instead of using yours, you would reimburse her? Did you tell her that?
No, I did not.
So your intention was for her to use her credit cards for everything without reimbursing her?
No, I paid cash. I usually pay cash. A lot of my business, my customers would pay cash.
Pay cash for what?
For dinners, I would give her cash. For rent, I would write her a check.
Well, how many checks did you write her for rent?
Probably 3.
Can I see them?
I don't have those with me.
Well, who do you think has them?
Well, I just moved from here, from California to New Mexico. I have a lot of things in storage, and I
but you have a bank, don't you?
Yes, well, that bank is closed. I closed out that account and opened a new one.
That doesn't make any difference. You can always get a copy of your checks by merely calling up the bank. And if it's your defense that what you did was you gave her checks, therefore you don't owe her this money, and you gave her checks for rent and checks for other things, then it seems to me you come here with something equipped with something other than your smile. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. You don't write somebody a bad check and then come with a baloney story, sir. Doesn't fly. We understand each other?
Yes, it does.
Out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If my customer wants to go golf, I take them to the golf course. If they want to go to the bikini bar, I'll take them to the bikini bar. It's money business.
It was not your normal classy bikini bar. I mean, it was just dirt, scum.
She had numerous friends that she would call and say, well, if I need help, I can go to see Rich Dude and he'll give me money and this and that. She's a gold digger.
I'm a woman who has a big heart, and I do not use men for money.
I wasn't prepared. I didn't come with receipts or check stubs. And I just wasn't prepared.
It's a big learning experience for me, and I hope to hell I never meet a guy like him ever again.
Ray Surratt is suing her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, for the cost of a car and child care.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2195, Surratt versus Vasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Surratt, you and Mr. Vasquez were in a relationship for a period of time and have 2 children together. How old are the children?
I have a daughter that's 15 and a son that's 8.
How long did you and Mr. Vasquez live together, if you did live together?
It was a lot of off and on, so I would say maybe a combined time of 8 years.
And does your daughter enjoy a relationship with her father?
Unfortunately, no.
Is that correct?
As far as I knew, that she had a great relationship with me.
When was the last time you saw your daughter, sir?
We spoke just a couple of days ago. You know, she has more time with friends now, but I do speak with her on a frequent basis.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Why don't you wait outside? Okay? Because, Ms. Surratt, I don't believe in, unless it's absolutely necessary, and certainly in this situation, it doesn't sound to me as if it's absolutely necessary to have your teenage daughter as a witness over a couple of $1,000s, which you may or may not be entitled to. Certainly, her father is in touch with her. She said he's in touch with her, which means that they communicate and that they have a relationship. Because I read the complaint and I read the answer, and I have a few basic questions. You're suing Mr. Vasquez, who you haven't lived with in many, many years, but who you share, according to what I've read here, joint legal and physical custody. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
And when was that court order made?
I have a copy of it, so I can tell you.
2011, Your Honor. 2011.
Was there a trial, Mr. Vasquez?
There was a trial, Your Honor, yeah.
Were you represented by counsel?
I represented myself.
And what about the plaintiff? Did she have a lawyer?
She did, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a copy of that order.
It's from 2017.
Well, there was one in 2011.
This is the original one. It hasn't changed since then. We have parenting and legal custody and a child support order, which is separate.
Oh, so the 2016 order, the ex parte order, originally granted Mr. Vasquez custody of the children. Yes, you were the respondent in that case. It says on October 28, 2016, petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, filed a motion to establish custody and parenting time. The petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, seeks joint legal and physical custody. The petitioner also sought an order granting sole legal custody of the children based upon the allegations that his daughter was watching his son without supervision for extended periods of time and that his daughter was not attending school. Child Protective Services did an investigation and actually found that you were not sending your daughter to school.
Correct.
And she was staying home and she was babysitting. Okay. Would you tell me, without my having to go through this whole thing, was there a child support order entered?
Yes.
Ultimately the children remained with you?
Correct.
The final order. And what was the child support order?
The child support order initially was $93 a month. I think I have a copy of it. And then to increase based off cost of living adjustments every year.
Is that $93 a month for both children?
For both children.
Okay.
Yes.
The order was ultimately increased. How much do you pay in child support now, sir?
$230 a month, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, that's not the order.
Well, I asked how much you pay. Were you ever in arrears of payment?
I was at one point, and then I caught up, so I've been caught up.
Well, they're catching up, so that $230 may be partly arrears. What is the order?
Oh, I'm completely caught up with my child support.
So the current order that you're paying is $230 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is what you're suing for. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez agreed to pay half of certain sporting fees that the children had that are not contained in the child support order, and he didn't. So you're suing him for that, and he says that you never had such an agreement, that you enrolled the children in sporting activities, and then came to him and said, do you owe me half? Am I reading that correctly?
Your Honor, that's correct.
That's your position?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's move on to the plaintiff's position that you wanted to change the child support order to not what he was paying, but what he was paying, and half of their sporting activities.
We actually had a verbal agreement.
Well, I'd like you to tell me when that took place, what you said to him, and what he said to you. So tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
Desiree Surratt claims her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, owes for the cost of a car and childcare. Curtis is countersuing for car repairs and vacation expenses.
Tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
No, in person.
At your home?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the conversation. What did you say to him and what did he say to you?
I don't remember the exact words, but...
Well, that's why we bring these things quickly, because now it's 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was basically, well, he wants to play this sport, Angelina wants to do track, this is how much it's going to cost, and his response was just, okay, let me know how much it is, and I'll pay half.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not quite correct. We don't have just conversation. We don't have any conversation at all. We communicate via text, and I rarely get a response. I've taken care of...
Just a second. We're talking about this one instance.
Okay.
She said that you had a conversation with her where you agreed to pay half of their sporting events. Based on that, I assume that you enrolled the children in the sporting events, paid the fee, and then said to him, this is your half. And he said, I'm not paying that half.
That's not correct, Your Honor. I didn't agree to pay half.
No, I'm not saying you agreed to pay half. That's what her position is.
I actually enrolled my son into soccer.
When?
It was this summer in July. And he was supposed to go for a month, and she took the kids out of the state without my knowledge for an extended vacation. And so I didn't have her pay half of that. And when she came back, she wanted to make that up to him. But that's without my knowledge.
Okay. How much did you pay for soccer?
$75.
So you never had a conversation with her about paying half of this? And it was never reduced to a modified order of the court because you have a court order for support. Okay, so I'm eliminating that. You want to change the order of support, you have to change it in court. Now let's move on to the second thing that you think that he owes you for. Cell phone. Let's hear about the cell phone.
He opened a cell phone account for my daughter.
When?
I don't know when it was.
When did you open a cell phone account, sir?
About 7 years ago.
And he paid it? He opened an account and he paid it?
Him or his dad. It was a business account.
I don't care.
I don't know
You
if he
didn't
paid
pay it.
Correct.
You didn't pay it. So your daughter has had a cell phone for the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you didn't see the bills for it?
Correct.
Okay, so he paid it.
Somebody paid it, yes. Yeah.
He paid it.
I paid it, Your Honor.
You didn't pay it?
Correct.
Okay. So now you want money for a cell phone. For what?
Just for the last 6 months that I paid. I never agreed to, so I'm just asking for
Then
half
take
of
the
that.
phone away.
Well, she's 15. She's got
I
a
understand
job
that. I understand that. Who bought her the phone?
I bought the phone.
Okay. And how many years ago did you buy the phone?
It was about 1.5 years ago.
Okay. And it was paid for on his plan?
No, I paid for the phone cash.
No. The bills, ongoing bills, were paid for by him and the phone that you bought her 1.5 years ago, because you said you've been paying the bills for 6 months.
Yep.
Is that correct? Whitney, didn't you say I've been paying the bills for the last 6 months?
Yes. Correct.
Well, so when you first got the phone for a year, he was paying the bills.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Well, he was paying the bills for 7 years, but certainly after you bought the phone. But prior to that, she had a different phone. She had to have had a different phone because he was paying the phone bills for 6 years. Who bought that phone?
I don't know.
Your Honor, I purchased that phone. It was the iPhone XR.
Okay. So you bought the first phone, you bought a second phone. Very nice. And he paid the bills, the phone bills for 6 years, and you paid it for the last 6 months. It's not part of a court order. If you agreed to do that, you agreed to do that. What are you getting courts involved for?
I never agreed to pay the cell phone.
Well, he never agreed to pay his cell phone when she was 13 or 12. Your parents. He paid it for a long time. Now you're paying it. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a realtor.
You work in a family business?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the family business.
It's children first and foremost, what's best for them.
No, the family business, sir.
Oh, the family business.
You're in real estate. Is it a family business?
It is not a family business.
It's just yours. And you've been in real estate for how long?
For about 3 years now. And prior to that, I was in sales. That is a family business, and it's real estate marketing.
That's a family business.
That's a family business.
You're not involved with that anymore. You still are?
Yes.
Who owns that business?
Dad.
Your father?
He does, yes.
How many employees do you have?
Just about 10, Your Honor.
So your father employs 10 people and you're one of them?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And what does your father pay you annually?
Oh, it's commission only, so no benefits.
And in the other real estate operation, do you have your own office or do you operate out of your father's office?
My own office.
Where?
In Maple Grove, Minnesota.
Do you have any employees?
I don't.
So you work for your father on commission and yourself?
Commission only as well in the real estate market.
Okay. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
Is there any reason for that?
Just late. Just over.
You're late. You're a year late.
Yeah.
What about the year before? Did you file tax return?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And how much did you declare as income the year before last?
It's like 55, I think. 55,000, yep.
Okay, so phone bill, I've taken care of the phone bill. You paid it for her, fine. And if you don't want to pay it anymore, let her get an after-school job and pay for her own phone. Now, the next thing that you're suing for is, according to your complaint, you had a car that you weren't using. Mr. Vasquez has a father who wanted a car. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez, without your permission, sold the car, your car, to his father for $700, and you didn't get any of that money.
Correct.
Mr. Vasquez says his father was going to buy the car. He drove it. He didn't want to buy it because it had issues, and it's sitting in his father's driveway waiting for you to come and get it, and that he never got $700 from his father for the car. That's his position, correct?
No, there's a correction. I did get $700 and paid him back the next day because the car broke down within a day.
Because what?
It broke down within a day.
Okay, so you did sell it to him?
Yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Desiree Surratt has accused her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, of selling her car without her permission. Curtis claims he refunded the money, and she can take the car back.
Okay, so you did sell it to him?
Yes, yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Is the car still titled in your name?
Yes.
So go get it.
I don't want the car, no.
Well, it's your car. It's titled in your name.
Yes, but apparently I have text messages showing he sold the car without my permission.
Whether he did or not, well, he can't sell the car because title never transferred.
Right.
And he's saying you can go and get the car. It's sitting in the driveway. His father doesn't want it. Title didn't transfer. He didn't get money for the car and keep it. It was a sort of silly transaction because what you are suggesting is he should have said to his father, that's it, it was sold, it's sold as is. You can't have your $700 back.
Right, and my understanding is that his dad, through a conversation that I had with his dad did not get the money back.
You can't tell me about the conversation. If you have text messages between them, I would like to see them.
I do, yes. So there's those text messages. And I also have several text messages where Curtis agrees to pay me the money and also telling me the
This
car
is
ran
Desiree. Curtis said you would take possession of the Kia, but I asked about the title. Big Curtis, is that your father?
Your Honor, yes, it is.
Okie dokie. Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money.
That's correct.
And that it certainly wasn't a day, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, sorry, not good at checking my text. If we could arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. That's 2 weeks later. Your father didn't say to her, he gave me the money back. He said, I want the title. That's 2 weeks later. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
Well, Your Honor, there's just one thing that we need to clear up right away is that it was never sold without her knowledge.
Just a second. Now what I'm asking you, sir, I'm saying that your original story to me was that I sold my father the car with her agreement. That's what you say here, for $700. He gave me the $700, but am I correct, Whitney, that the car broke down the next day?
He said the car broke down within a day.
Within a day, and so you gave him his money back. Well, that's not what your father says here, sir. That's not what your father says here.
I went back and forth with him for days, but I gave him his money back.
No, what you told me was a lie. You told me it broke down the day you gave him his money back. The initial conversation she had was May 9th. And then May 16th, she's having a conversation with Big Curtis. That's your father. Mm-hmm. Sorry for not checking my texts. Can you get me the title? Which means 2 weeks later, he wanted the title. And then your father says about you, Curtis owes me big time money, and I can't get money from him either. That's your father.
Oh, yeah, that's correct, Your Honor.
Big Curtis says to her, can you tell me what problem does Curtis have that caused him to spend massive amounts of money in such a short period of time? She answers, drugs, alcohol, gambling, he's a functional addict. He even got around $40,000 and he blew every penny. So the $700 you gave him for the car, I'm just going to file a small claims. For whatever reason, he's refusing to give it to me. It's not your fault that he stole the money from me. Just FYI, I have no issue giving you the title. Okay. So far, he owes you $700 for the car. And then we're finished. Get Big Curtis the title. Mail it to him. He sends you his address.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Great. Now you have a counterclaim, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, Your Honor. I have some evidence I'd like to present.
Give me all that nonsense. You say that the plaintiff canceled a vacation trip. You made plane arrangements to take your children somewhere, and she took the children out of state. And car repairs that you gave her money for, car repairs, $250. I helped her repair her car and spent $250 on parts. When was that?
That was the car in question that we were just talking about.
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
My parents helped me with the purchase of the kids' tickets.
Why?
Because I couldn't afford all of them.
Who was going on the trip?
It was going to be my wife, myself, and 2 kids.
Did you go on the vacation to Portugal with your wife?
No, we did not make it.
You did not make it.
Correct. Why? Because she is responsible of...
No, not her. Not with your 2 kids. Did you go with your wife?
No, I didn't.
Why?
I didn't want to go without the kids. It was the whole purpose was to bring the kids to see the grandparents.
Does your wife work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a bartender.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Don't make any more private agreements with him, madam. I think it's a big mistake. We're done. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're
Your Honor.
finished.
Thank you.
I had one more.
I just ruled that your counterclaim is dismissed.
Your Honor.
You're finished. I have very little to say about that case, very little thoughts, except that Big Curtis, the defendant's father, doesn't like him.
I didn't get to read the messages, but
clearly, he said, what is he doing with all the money? You know, my initial reading of that case was, maybe she's being unreasonable. She's really not being unreasonable.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's not a lot more to little Curtis than we were able to see today.
I agree.
That his father, Big Curtis,
Has
understands.
seen, yeah.
Previously on Judy Justice.
Each one of you are claiming that the other is guilty of harassment and false police reports, reports to the Child Welfare Administration. The whole bad feeling between neighbors started because of a parking space.
She parked very close to my car, as you can see on the picture. She started parking close to me like that.
She asked you to move. Your response to her was, it's a public street, I'll park where I want to park. I'm not sympathetic with you. You called Child Protective Services based on...
She yelled at her daughter to get down her. Next time she does it, she's going to beat her up, and then we heard break your neck.
And she says, hey, get off the couch right now. I'm going to beat you up. Stop playing. Okay, I'm going to break it. Oh, she says, you're going to break your neck.
She didn't say, I'm going to break your neck. She said, you're going to break your neck.
After she threatened to beat the child up.
I still think that that's a little bit of overkill, Miss Jackson. Let's go further.
And now, the conclusion. Lynette Hernandez is suing her neighbors, Pamela Jackson and Ashley Jackson, for filing false CPS reports and defamation of character.
So the first 2 times that you called Child Protective Services, I think that they were iffy. And I believe, you know, if you see something, say something. But this comes from a different place. All right.
A police officer.
Don't speak. I don't care what a police officer said to you, actually. I really don't care. You say that she called Child Protective Services in April.
April 7th.
Just a second. So Child Protective Services responded to a call on April 7th. And what was the gravamen of that call? Somebody was complaining that what? Do you know?
Yeah, she told
Not she. Somebody was complaining.
Somebody was saying that I had a knife, a child, and that I was kicking her car. The same thing she told the police officer the first time. Then whenever she came inside of my house, the CPS worker...
Just a second. She says she did not call Child Protective Services in April. That's what she says. So now you're going to show me proof that she called Child Protective Services in April. She acknowledges she called 3 times, all after August, either August, September, or thereafter. So show me proof that she called in April.
Just tell her to press play.
Press play at the bottom.
All these in Galveston knew how to take care of their men, they wouldn't be paying her to take care of them. She's very proud of this. She's proud of she doesn't care that her kids are there. I've seen signs of things that have happened. You know what? There was one incident, and yes, it did get reported to CPS. Yes, there's a video out there. Now I'm going to have to go find the video where one of the guys that comes out giving her money, the daughter is sitting there kind of grabbing herself money, almost like something happened. So it's almost like Lynette actually pimped out her own daughter. What kind of mother is going to A, have do her prostitution in front of her kids, and B, allow them around her daughter?
How did you get this audio?
She posted that on TikTok. And the first time that they came, April 7th, CPS, they told me that those were the allegations that were made.
Clearly, that's your voice. It's clearly, just a second.
That was after.
Clearly, That's your voice.
Yes, that's my voice, but I'm not the one that called. I learned about the allegations. Clearly, she called the police.
Clearly, that's your voice. And those are pretty serious allegations, because you're not only accusing her of committing a crime in front of her children, you say in this audio, which is on TikTok, is that where it is?
Let's see if there's
People are so crazy, that she is using her daughter, who is 7. That's what you say on here. That's pretty vicious.
At the time,
just a second. That's pretty.
Your Honor, she's claiming that I'm a prostitute.
Just a second. Does it sound as if right now, I told you, I don't care if you have to parallel park.
There's another TikTok to why that one was posted that would clear more information.
I don't care if you have something that would clear more information, madam.
She accused me of being arrested for calling CPS when I wasn't. And that particular CPS call, somebody else, she called the police after
Did you post this
after
on a just a second?
I just got fired for it.
That's your voice. And I don't care if you're having a private conversation with somebody, if you're saying to somebody privately, this is what I think is going on there, this is what I think. You posted this on a public platform, accusing her, not only accusing her, but saying that you saw her home being used for prostitution and her using her child for prostitution. That's what you say. Hey, that's what you say in here. And it was posted, because that's the only way you get it.
Views, unlike hers, that had over 4 million.
Just a second. I'm telling you that is egregious. That is egregious. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
I didn't ask you for anything. Have you ever been careful? Have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
If you haven't been arrested, you couldn't have been convicted of a crime. You have 2 children. How old are they?
7 and 8.
Who do you work for?
I'm a home health caregiver for a company.
You work full-time?
Part-time, because I was a student.
Where?
In Galveston College.
Is that a brick-and-mortar school?
It's a community college.
But it's a brick-and-mortar school. It's not online.
No, it's public.
When I say it's a brick-and-mortar, it's a building rather than something in the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. Outrageous. That's outrageous.
She ended up...
Lynette Hernandez claims her neighbor, Pamela Jackson, defamed her on social media. Pamela says she called CPS on Lynette after she witnessed abuse.
Okay, when's the 3rd time you called?
The 3rd time, she was outside with her child. Her child threw a ball at her. She took the ball, and with full force, she took it and threw it at his face. She also threw it at his groin. Then when he was upset and crying, she looked at him and told him, "You've been hit harder than that in soccer."
Okay. Did you have a video
we have
of
a
that?
recording.
I'd like to see it. Which one is your phone? The happy face or this face?
Here's the one where you can see him being hit in the groin. And then there's another one, too.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what this is showing.
Well, she's playing ball with her 2 children out in the front. Looks like a big beach ball.
Oh, that.
And then she throws the ball in it, but it's in a very light-spirited way. These are not angry.
The other one's not.
These are, no. I got it.
Just a mother playing with her children.
CPS closed all of these cases after they came out and interviewed you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was ruled out because they didn't find anything.
Okay. Now, I'm going to hear one thing from you. Only one thing. And that's your counterclaim. Because I don't care about police. I don't care calling the police. You're all entitled to do that. CPS is a whole different thing.
If I could add something, please?
Not unless it's on video. Because what you showed me so far...
I got document for this one.
What?
We've got documentation on this one.
On what?
In retaliation, she called CPS on my daughter who doesn't have kids.
Who cares? Then your daughter's not at risk if she has no children. CPS responded based upon at least 3 times, maybe 4, but at least 3 times. And so far, nothing that I've seen, other than the fact that you were annoyed, would require or suggest child abuse. or neglect. So I'm telling you, that's trouble for you. All I want to hear now is you claim she assaulted you. That's your counterclaim. I don't want to hear about anything else. You claim she assaulted you.
Well, we have two parts to that.
Just
We
a
also
second.
have defamation.
All I care about, you have to understand, I find that what you and or your daughter did by calling Child Protective Services vindictive and vile. And it took people who should be out there really looking to take care of children who are really abused and or neglected, took their time to come out, do an investigation, all because of vindictiveness. Because I saw nothing. If I were trying a neglect
I have
case,
video of the cop telling me to call
just a
CPS.
second. Just a second. I don't care. You have shown me the basis that you used to call Child Protective Services. You took the video of it. And I'm telling you, that was my business for a quarter of a century. I would never make a finding of neglect based upon anything that you had here. Anything. So now, follow directions. You know, I told you, I'm an equal opportunity abuser. I told her she's got to learn how to parallel park and not tell people where to park on the street. All I'm interested from you is tell me about this assault that you allege occurred.
The night of the assault, and we have video of it. I
just
get that ready.
date, just a second. Date.
November 27th, this past year, 2022. It was in the evening. I was outside changing my cameras, and she came home and took my trash can because she had put hers in front of my car that day, or the day before, and the cops even, because at first she...
No. Don't go off on a tangent.
Okay. So she took my trash can, put it in the middle of the road. She likes to try to get me tickets, so I went to go move it. She kept pulling it and moving it back out there. So finally I went to go grab her can to move it over. Well, she ended up taking my can and going like this. Literally shoved it into me 4 times. I ended up with scratches and bruises.
Okay.
I've got a back strain and it agitated my arthritis.
I'm going to see.
I've got
the
medical record.
Just a second. I'm going to see the video of that and the police report.
Can you pull that video? I don't have my phone.
Your Honor, I have the video of the whole incident.
Is this ours?
Yes.
My phone.
Pull up that video.
We have it on the monitor if you want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to move it. Let me park my car. Let me park my car. You can keep that parallel park. Why do you want to go? I don't give. Let me park my car. That's another accident.
Say, lady, you go to the neighborhood. You go to the neighborhood. You know what the neighborhood's all about. Why are you?
You want me to hit you? I want you to go jump.
I don't see any.
Your Honor, I have a video of the whole
Just a second. I don't see anything there.
Those are just clips.
Shh. I don't see anything there. Miss Jackson, I see 2 ladies fighting over the trash cans. I don't see her assaulting you.
It was the trash can she got me with.
I don't see it. I don't see her going like this into you 4 times. I don't see that. I don't see it. Now I'll look at a police report. That's your video. Do you see her shoving a trash can into 4 times?
You can see that they come together with both trash cans, but not much more.
Stupid. People acting stupid. Nonsense. Stupid.
Your Honor, I have the video of the whole incident of how it first started.
I'd like to see it.
She made a. Where's my pink phone?
I gave them all
Pink phone.
Every angle of it.
Because she
Pink phone.
She lied.
Don't speak. I'm not.
She made another false accusation saying that I was the one who put it in the middle of the street. I came, and she was the one who came first and started putting it in the middle of the street. And I'm gonna find the video for you.
Yeah, you know, I really don't care. Listen to me, Miss Hernandez.
Yes, ma'am.
Take your phone. I really don't care.
Okay.
I look there and I don't see an assault.
Okay.
I don't see an assault, and that's really all I was interested in.
Defendant Pamela Jackson is accusing her neighbor, Lynette Hernandez, of abusing her children. Lynette claims Pamela posted damaging content on her social media.
Okay, Miss Jackson, when we started out this case, I said to Miss Hernandez, in effect, don't be a big baby. You have to park your car, learn to parallel park, and you can't tell somebody else that they can't park in front of their house. And you were absolutely right. Right? Mm-hmm. You owe her $5,000. I'm entering a judgment on her behalf of $5,000 for your erroneous call to Child Protective Services. That's my judgment. Don't do it again. Don't take. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Hey, listen to me. Listen to me. I'm speaking. You showed me your best evidence. You said I have it all recorded. Why I called Child Protective Services. You showed me. There was nothing there. In the videos you showed me,
because this
is not a because. This is not a because. This is not a because. I also find what you posted on TikTok abhorrent.
What she posted was worse, and it's viral. You didn't even give me a chance to present
Just a second. The only thing that I am hearing are the calls to Child Protective Services and your assault. I didn't see the assault. But I saw Child Protective Services, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I overheard a lot more than what was, and saw a lot more than what was being shown.
I got justice because you shouldn't waste resources, on something, on accusations, sick and false like that.
I wouldn't have all these cameras if she wasn't constantly harassing me, calling the police on me.
Everybody gets along except her. She's the problem.
She wants to become TikTok famous. When she realized her videos of defamation against my mother was getting a big hit, she was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this on.
I'm not trying. It just happened.
We've tried to ignore her. She's the one that keeps doing it.
There's been things that she's done and it's just all out of pettiness.
Wait for the police to finally arrest her.
Thank you, Judy Justice.
So I have two comments.
Okay.
Because we've had lots of cases with regard to parking spaces, parking in the street, and that sort of stuff. And how neighbors start off wrong, usually because of something. This was a car thing. But you have to be sensitive to the limited resources of people who are supposed to protect children. And if you keep calling them over nonsense because it really emanated from a parking space, you touched my car, it's parked too close, that's not a tool.
Yeah.
That's not a tool. And we have to fortify that statement that it's not a tool to call a governmental agency that has limited resources because somebody's bumping into your car.
Yeah.
And there are ramifications of posting that sort of stuff without any modicum of proof, just because you're making up this.
I was pretty outraged listening to that as well, hearing, like you had said, I could speak to a friend or a family member at home and say, I've seen some weird things about my neighbor, I'm not sure if something weird is going on there, but those were concrete, seemingly factual statements that she was making about her neighbor that were inaccurate and, like you said, had no basis.
If true, she belongs in jail, which is not true.
No.
In my judgment, just the limited contact that I had. They both behaved badly. I was talking about this Gen, whatever it is.
Oh, us Gen Z. You realize that's my generation as well.
Yeah, yes, it is. So,
go easy on us. Remember who raised us.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Probably part of it was us. But I heard a really funny story. We were talking about this entitlement, young people in entitlement. And one of my friends said, I went into a store, where they usually have one shoe out, and if you want the other one, you have to ask a sales associate to please get you the other shoe to prevent people from walking out with two shoes. So he went over to the sales associate. The place was relatively empty. He said to the sales associate, could I get the mate of this shoe? And this kid, who was about 25, 28 years old, looked like a schlump. His response to him was, why me? Why me? Why did you ask me? There are 4 other sales associates here who could get you the other shoe. Why did you pick me? Bizarre. I'm praying for some sort of a miracle for this generation, some sort of an awakening. Anyway.
There's some good ones in the generation that might just save us.
There are some great ones.
So.
Just a minute. There are great ones. There are great ones. But there's a very unfortunate thing because neither one of these two people are moving.
Yeah.
Kamar Jalil is suing his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, for rent and the cost of 2 cats.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case 2170, Judy versus Calderon Nepomuceno.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, my goodness. Calderon.
Hello.
What's your first name?
Amante.
Amante?
Yeah.
Good. It's much easier than your last name for me to pronounce. Mr. Giulio, this roughly is what the case is about. You and Miss Calderon were in a relationship for a period of time. You decided to take an apartment. You were both on the lease. So far, correct?
Correct.
Your arrangement with Miss Calderon, which seems to be consistent in both your complaint and your answer, is that you had a much better paying job. She was going to provide the food and some other stuff for the house, and you were going to be covering the rent when you lived together, which you did.
Correct.
There came a time when Amante, who was a friend of yours, came to live with you. According to you, he was going to help out with the rent.
Correct.
He came, he lived with you, he helped out with the rent for maybe a period of time, and then he helped himself to your girlfriend.
Correct.
Now they're a couple. When you were no longer a couple with Miss Calderon, she stayed in the apartment for a period of time, but then they both left.
Correct.
And you're suing both of them for rent and for the return of 2 cats that they took when they left. You claim the cats are yours.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. And some cat expenses in the event that I let them keep the cat. Cats. 2 cats. So when did you and Miss Calderon sign a lease together?
We signed the lease together at the end of July with the landlord present.
July of 2022?
July of 2021. Correct.
And it was for a year?
Correct.
And you had a job working for whom, sir?
I worked for a company called Steris.
What do they do?
They provide medical equipment to hospitals all over the world.
How long have you been working for them?
I'm going to have 8 years under my belt this year.
And when you moved into the apartment in July of 2021, what kind of work was Miss Calderon doing?
At the time, she was working at an animal hotel.
It was a pet daycare boarding facility.
Okay. Were you an hourly employee?
I was an hourly employee.
And I am correct that when you moved in July, your arrangement was that you were going to pay the rent.
That was
the arrangement.
Correct.
When did Armante come to live with you?
About August to...
That's
right.
Correct.
Shh.
He...
Just...
Amante was going to be our 3rd roommate.
You mean 1, 2, 3?
Correct.
Well, you're not roommates, really. You and the defendant, Miss Calderon, were not roommates. You shared a room.
We shared a room and...
And Armante was going to live where?
In another room.
And what was your arrangement with Armante with regard to paying rent?
We would split the rent 3 ways.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And how much was your share of the rent?
I would say approximately $927.
How long did you live there?
I was there when they signed the lease. I watched it all happen when they signed the lease. I came in, they signed everything.
Well, you didn't sign the lease.
I did not.
But you were there from the beginning?
Yes.
And it was your agreement with the plaintiff that you would pay 1/3 of the rent?
Yes.
Great.
We asked the landlord
Okay, so, hey, try not to hold each other's hands. Let's do the coochie someplace else. So you agreed with the plaintiff that despite the fact that you were not on the lease, you were going to assume the responsibility of 1/3 of the rent, $927.
Yes.
So you moved in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. You left in April?
Yeah.
So you were there for 9 months?
Yes.
Did you pay rent for the 9 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
He paid rent for about the 7.5 months.
Okay. And then you left?
Yes.
Why did you leave?
I decided to leave because he decided to go to another place he was offered. So
what do you mean he decided to go to another place?
He
that was...
got a place from his grandparents in another city. So I couldn't hold down the rent with her. So I decided to leave to save money and go back to my parents' house.
Now, Mr. Jalil, you see, you don't make up a story like that, like he just told me. a lot of that has the ring of truth to it. Where are you living now?
My grandparents' house in an in-law unit.
So when did you tell them that you were going to a different place?
In March.
When did you leave?
I left in July.
Did you let him know that you were staying until the end of the lease?
I
what?
I discussed with them that I would be leaving, but I would stick around to help them find either a different location or even suggesting that we all went back to our respective families just to, call it.
Mr. Giulio, this isn't working for you. I have to tell you something, sir. This case is not working for you at all. And it's only because Mr. Amante is very direct with me that you're suing them for $10,000. Where does that come from in your mind? Your agreement with her was you were going to pay the rent. You were never out of pocket. Your agreement was you were going to pay the rent. He paid his rent when he was there. He paid his 1/3. You then told them you were leaving. That's a whole different story than what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Giulio. Do you understand?
Correct.
It's a whole different story. So, at best, Armante would owe you for 3 months' rent if they just left. But you told them that you were leaving. Now, when did you find out that they were a couple?
I found out at the end of April.
Were you all living together?
Yes.
So you just had 2 months left to the lease. So he was paying you. He paid you in March. You had May, June. You signed the lease in July. So it was over at the end of June, June 30th.
It would have been over at the end of July, Your Honor.
Well, she doesn't owe you any money for rent. At most, he owes you 2 months' rent. Tell me why you left.
My job doesn't pay that well, so I decided to go back to my parents' house.
When you took this apartment, this expensive apartment that was almost $3,000 a month rent, had you had a discussion with Armante about moving in with you before?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Giulio, I'm reading your complaint because something wasn't registering right with me. You say you moved into the apartment together in August of 2021. Then you go through a whole bunch of stuff about a cat and then another adopted cat. You said in October we adopted a second cat. Around this same time, a third roommate moved in to shoulder some of the rent. Well, that's not true. He moved in right at the beginning.
And that was...
that was what?
That was...
a mistake.
That was a mistake.
Okay. But Armante acknowledges that he agreed right at the beginning. He volunteered the fact that he was there at the lease signing because it was agreed at the lease signing that he was going to pay a third of the rent. So, sir, you owe him rent as long as you show me that you've paid the rent. You moved out in July?
Yes.
And you paid your rent through July, or were you evicted?
No, I paid my rent in July.
Through July?
Yes.
Okay. 1854. Armante, you owe him $1,854. That's for 2 months' rent. Got it?
Okay.
I'm not subtracting anything because you stole his girlfriend.
That's fair.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case?
Either the return of both cats or $5,000.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Giulio.
Kamar Jalil claims his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, are wrongfully keeping his cats and owe him rent money.
Now let's deal with the issue with the cats. She doesn't owe you any rent. That was not your agreement with her. You moved out in July. August, September, October, November, December. 5 months ago, she's had both cats, right?
Correct.
She says they're her cats. When did you first file a small claims case?
September of 2022.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case? Be careful.
I was requesting either the return of both cats or $5,000, which was the accumulated expense of not just the cats, but also the expenses of her dogs as well. So any animal expenses for the time.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Giulio. When the cats were either registered or went to the vet, whose name is on the sheet as owner?
I believe it was Miss Calderon.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And she owns the cats, and she's had them for the last 5 months. I suggest that you go and adopt 2 more if you want some more cats. Do you understand?
Yes.
You were living together as a couple. However, your friend Armante has to pay you for the couple of months' rent that he didn't because he says, not you, he volunteered that was your agreement from the very beginning. So he owes you $1,854. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think he's just kind of butthurt that I moved on.
At least now I can put everything behind me and say that I did try.
I didn't think it would escalate this far.
All you can do in a situation like this is just you learn from it and you move on.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
This is what it is. It's life.
I find fascinating, Sarah, that people will write and or be assisted in writing a complaint and an answer, but they read it over. This man is an intelligent man. He has a serious job for 8 years. First of all, he was suing for $10,000. Come up with that money. $5,000 for the cat's expenses, ridiculous. But his complaint had really nothing to, even the timeline.
As your clerk, I know that is a pet peeve of yours when
I don't understand.
they don't match up.
If you're going to tell a lie,
at least tell a consistent lie.
Right.
I think the right thing happened. I think the defendant friend admitted himself that he owed the rent, and that was great, even though he probably should have just kept his mouth shut.
Had not said, I was there when the lease was signed. This was always our agreement.
Yeah.
I was going to be the
but
third.
He was honest, which we always appreciate, and so I think the right thing.
So
I think he needs to, like you say, put a period, move on.
Move on. Anyway, all happy, and they look happy. They couldn't keep their hands.
Thank you.